identity theft protection, there's LifeLock. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal info and fixes identity theft issues that arise. Start your 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use my name as your promo code, Clay.
An informed and educated citizenry is the only guarantee to preserve our constitutional republic. And each week, you'll hear from experts, not pundits, and find out what's really happening, from local issues to national politics. Listen to The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. There's no topic of public policy concern that she won't talk about. Stop the lies. Learn the truth. Join the conversation. Sunday night at 7, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
It's 5:12. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. I-55 jamming up in Will County early this morning. Northbound between US 6 and I-80. Maywood, 9th Avenue, shut down both directions between Madison and Washington. Crews are on the scene after a car crashes into a tree. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Partly sunny, a very nice day. A high today at 67. Cloudy tonight, periods of rain, a thunderstorm late. Low tonight at 51. A shower in the area tomorrow morning, then some clouds and sun, high 66. Sunny Saturday, the high 58. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
45 at O'Hare, 32 Aurora, 36 Joliet, 35 DuPage Airport, 34 in Morris, 52 Lakefront. Your next news update comes your way at 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answers starts next on AM 560, The Answer.
Building owners, property managers, and chief engineers, this one's for you.
Hello, this is Bruce Diedrich with Waukegan Roofing, your professional roofer. Everything starts on top. Your investment, your building, and everything in it is protected by your roof. It needs to be in good shape. That's where we can help. If it needs to be repaired or replaced, or you think it might, call us. Let's find out. Here's the number.
847-623-1625.
At Waukegan Roofing, our employees are union-trained roofing professionals with OSHA safety training certifications and have thorough knowledge and expertise regarding the various roofing systems we sell, maintain, and install. We know commercial roofing systems because that's all we do. Over 110 years of doing commercial roofs. Waukegan Roofing has the slogan,
Roofs you can rely on.
because you can. Here's the number to call.
847-623-1625.
And get the info at waukeganroofing.com. waukeganroofing.com.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
It's Dr. David Kolbaba.
Hey, let me tell you about our age analysis assessment. It takes just a few seconds to scan for those advanced glycated end products that cause premature aging. And then we'll briefly go over your results and give you a few things for you to do to improve. And then we'll retest you in about 60 days. And you'll pay our special low price for your first assessment, and I'll pay for your second one. That's right, your follow-up age analysis assessment is on me. And we're going to compare your biologic age with your chronologic age, and then we're going to help you determine if your biologic age is on par with your chronologic age. But you got to make that call today, not tomorrow, but today. It's our Health Quest radio hotline, 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855. Second assessment free if you make that call right now. 800-794-1855. It's Health Quest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, Saturday mornings at 11.
Few understand the impact this election may have on their retirement savings. In less than 30 days, our entire economy could face a monumental shift that could destroy a huge amount of value many Americans have stored in their 401ks or IRAs. In times like these, the most trusted store of wealth in human history stands out: physical gold and silver. Many Americans have looked to True Gold Republic for help. They specialize in helping those with a 401k, IRA, or other retirement accounts convert their stocks and bonds into physical gold and silver to protect their hard-earned savings. True Gold is offering listeners a free copy of their Election Gold Protection Kit today.
Invited me to a dinner to a restaurant on the Upper East Side of New York, and there were other models there and the usual men hangers-on at this dinner. And one of the men who was sitting at this table was Jeffrey Epstein. And I had never heard of him or anything, but we got to know each other, and we talked a lot about Clinton and Gore. And I enjoyed the fact that he was politically engaged and wasn't infantilizing me and talking to me about that. The next time that I saw Jeffrey was a few months later in December of '92 at Donald Trump's Plaza Hotel Christmas party. And it became very clear then that he and Donald were really, really good friends and spent a lot of time together. After that, Jeffrey Epstein expressed a lot of interest in me, and we started seeing each other. When Jeffrey and I would talk, he mentioned Trump frequently. He was clearly a close friend, and they were spending a lot of time together. Late winter, early spring of '93, I was on a walk with Jeffrey from his brownstone on the Upper East Side down Fifth Avenue when Jeffrey looked at me and said, let's go stop by and see Trump. And so we went to Trump Tower and went up the elevator, and moments later, Trump was greeting us, and he pulled me into him and started groping me. He put his hands all over my breasts, my waist, my butt, and I froze. And I froze because I was so deeply confused about what was happening, because the hands were moving all over me. Yet these two men were like smiling at one another and continuing on in their conversation. Jeffrey and I left, and I got into the elevator with him, and I felt this, like, he didn't look at me, he didn't speak to me, and I felt this like seething rage around him. His whole energy shifted. And when we got down to the sidewalk, he looked at me and started just berating me. He kept saying, "Why did you let him do that? Why did you let him put his hands all over you? What?" And he made me feel so disgusting. And I remember at that moment being so utterly confused. Number one, I thought, well, yeah, why did I let him do that? And then I was confused because, but why is Jeffrey mad? Because he's the one that took me up there. And I was also confused because I was someone who really prided myself as being sort of one of the tough models who was problematic, because I fought back against the predators in the industry. I defended fellow models on the streets of Paris when we would be grabbed or harassed. So how did I let that happen? I felt so humiliated and so sick to my stomach and was so upset. And as I absorbed what happened a few minutes later, I felt like that was some sort of sick bet or game between the two of them. I was rolled in there like a piece of meat for some kind of challenge or twisted game. And I felt horrendous. And not long after that, a postcard of Mar-a-Lago was couriered to my agent. And there was a personal message on the back from Donald Trump. I still have that postcard, and it makes me sick to look at it. And it takes me back to that feeling of confusion and being frozen and humiliated. And that is why I am here tonight. I figured it was time to share this, and I'm ready to win this election. The thought of that monster being back in the White House is my absolute worst nightmare.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Donald Trump is Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler is Donald Trump.
First of all, she did this during a call with Kamala Harris supporters with a group called Survivors for Harris. And I'm sorry, Stacey, if he was such a monster, why didn't you come forward? Because he already was in the White House for 4 years. Where were you? And this happened 17 years ago?
31 years ago.
I'm sorry. This happened
1993.
31 years ago.
So, right, her worst case scenario, her greatest nightmare is that Trump is back in the White House. So why didn't you come forward in 2020? She keeps a postcard that she got from Trump with the image of Mar-a-Lago, and it makes her sick to look at. Why do you keep it?
Yeah, don't keep it.
Sean in Northwest Indiana, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning. I mean, this lady is ridiculous. Like you said, why didn't you come back forward in 2020? Why didn't you come forward in 2016? That's
Right.
the problem. You were dating a pedophile, a guy that, trafficked little girls, and now all of a sudden you have the courage to come out in 2024 because your candidate that you want to vote for is absolute garbage. This is just so sick. This is
Thanks for the call, Sean.
And Trump's campaign released a statement. These accusations made by a former activist for Barack Obama and announced on a Harris campaign call 2 weeks before the election are unequivocally false. It's obvious this fake story was contrived by the Harris campaign.
What Sean just pointed out, too, is something that's one of the questions that popped into my mind, too. As you reflect back on that period in your life, does it sicken you that you dated a pedophile? That you had sex with Jeffrey Epstein? I'm presuming. I know you were young and impetuous. We all were once. I get it. But, these women that are young women that are wooed by older, wealthier men because they're wealthy, regardless of the underlying character. I mean, that social climbing aspect. We talked about that with the Harvey Weinstein business. Mm-hmm. I'm just throwing. There's a lot of issues here too, and I'm not saying that Trump has not behaved boorishly with women over the many years that his exploits were splashed all over the New York tabloids. But I don't know how to tell you, Stacey, but this is sort of baked into the price, and yours. I mean. E. Jean Carroll's story was difficult to believe, but yours, given the context in which you're deciding to come out and tell it, and given the obvious angle here, it's not just another Trump grope story. It's Trump, Epstein, buddy, pals. His good friend Jeffrey Epstein, the same guy he kicked out of Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, because he was hitting on a younger staff member. They're not from. We had, when you were off, this was a while ago, we had Trump's former administrative assistant, and she said they were not friends. Yes, he caught a plane with on his plane once just to go back to New York City. She goes, but in West Palm, I know this sounds snotty, but this is what people do. Like, hey, I need to get to Manhattan. Who's going? And then you just jump on someone's private plane. Those are the only 2 times he went on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. They were not friends. Epstein wasn't on that, and that was to New York. Not friends.
Mark's outside.
After listening to that whole story, we never heard what was on the postcard.
The postcard, allegedly, the inscription was, greetings from your home away from home. Love, Donald.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was revealed. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did she show the postcard?
I didn't see a copy. I just read
either.
the story in The Guardian. Greg in Schaumburg.
Okay, I love the two of you. Love your show. I wish the way you would have handled this is to say the stuff that's going to be thrown out in the next 12 days or whatever we've got left is going to be voluminous. There's another story out today. We're not going to dignify it with any kind of time because it's so bogus. If you want any information about it, go to other sources. But the point of the matter is that you covered it. Everybody else in conservative media is going to cover it, and the very thing that the Democrats want is being promoted by conservative media. Now, you may critique my point of view and say, okay, in view of everything that you've just put on the table of facts that are needed to dispel the rumor, the ordinary person that is going to the store and getting nailed by prices or worried about the country or worried about the world, etc., doesn't know those details. They don't care, and now you just put it on a plate for them to consider and depress them, and we're going after a very small percentage of the voters right now, and those are the people who are swayed. And I know this to be the case because I've lost a lot of friends, not so much in Chicago because Chicago's wiser, but in Cincinnati. You call down to Cincinnati and people, when they hear a story like this, and say, well, I'm not voting for this guy. That's my point of view. Sorry. Thanks.
Thanks for the call, Greg.
Yeah, thanks for the call.
Completely disagree. Couldn't disagree more. You address these things head on in real time, so there is the appropriate pushback. You bury your head in the sand and you pretend that all of the institutions and all of the outlets that are aligned for Kamala Harris aren't going to disseminate this widely and demagogue this for as much as they can get out of it. You respond right away, and you provide the context so that when these conversations inevitably pop up, people are armed with the details they need to dispense with the seriousness of this as an issue, this as an accusation. Completely disagree. Coming up at 5:38, well, we got Trump as Epstein, so I guess we better turn to Trump as Hitler. Or should we discard that too? Should we not pay attention to Kamala Harris having a press conference to talk about General Kelly's comments? No, obviously we shouldn't. We should address it head on, and that's what we'll do at 5:38.
And later, when did Kamala Harris raise children? I really want to get into that, too. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
It's 5:34 on AM 560. Vice President Harris touching on a wide variety of topics during a CNN town hall on Wednesday. Harris began the town hall saying she thinks Donald Trump is, quote, a fascist, end quote, and saying he was, quote, increasingly unstable, end quote.
Yes, I do believe that Donald Trump is unstable, increasingly unstable, and unfit to serve.
Former President Trump, meantime, gearing up for a pair of campaign events out west today, one in Arizona, one in Nevada. The Republican presidential nominee last night on the stump criticizing FEMA for its response to Hurricane Helene and saying the White House didn't do its job.
FEMA, meaning the White House, did not do their job. They did not do their job, and we got to change it.
Controversy at a West Coast newspaper this morning. The editor of the LA Times editorial page has resigned ostensibly in protest after an endorsement of Kamala Harris was blocked by the owner of that paper. Turkey striking back against the militant group it blames for a terror attack at a defense company yesterday. Here's Fox's Jonathan Savage.
Turkey has carried out 2 sets of airstrikes against Kurdish militants. It follows yesterday's attack at the TUSAS aerospace and defense firm in Ankara, in which 5 people and the 2 assailants were killed. Armed with assault rifles, they set off an explosive and opened fire. The airstrikes targeted what are described as strategic locations used by a group called the PKK. The strikes took place in Syria and Iraq. The PKK is classed as a terror organization by Turkey, the United States, and others. It's not commented on the attack or Turkey's response. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Federal health officials are working to get to the bottom of an E. coli outbreak linked to McDonald's and hamburgers there. Tesla reporting stronger than expected third-quarter profits, sending shares up 12% after Wednesday's earnings release. Police in Mexico have captured a man suspected of strangling an Illinois attorney to death in 2016. The Marshals Service announcing that Mexican authorities have arrested the man wanted in the death of Victor Patel, a 36-year-old real estate attorney killed in Northbrook in 2016. Mayor Brandon Johnson's communications director is stepping down. Ronnie Reese's damaging exit follows a rocky year and a half of communications strategy by the mayor's administration, and it continues a string of critical exits from the mayor's top teams. An investigation continues after a suspect was shot by police Wednesday afternoon after stabbing an employee at a suburban car dealership in the city of DeKalb. The Bulls lost to New Orleans last night, 123-111. Week 8 of the NFL season kicks off tonight with Thursday night football, Rams and Vikings. The news service of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Save 35% off your first preferred order with promo code Chicago. Order online at balanceofnature.com. Coupon code Chicago to save 35%. Hurry up. Offer ends soon. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The lineup for Freedom Summit Chicago 2024 just got bigger with the addition of Dinesh D'Souza. He joins Dr. Sebastian Gorka and economist Steve Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, Jeannie Ives, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Willows Academy, Senior Helpers of Naperville, and by the Illinois Family Institute.
Balance of Nature. Fruits and veggie supplements are packed with 31 frightfully good whole fruit and vegetable ingredients. Our blends help maintain your overall well-being. From the deep red cranberry to the rustic green cabbage, our special formula is no trick. Dare to discover the magical blends within. Open and sprinkle our fruits supplement powder into your cauldron brew, aka morning smoothie, or add our veggie supplement powder to your spooktacular concoction. Soup, we mean soup. This Halloween, treat yourself to a potion of wellness that's wickedly good with Balance of Nature.
Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. And get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
Attention, anyone with high blood pressure.
If you want to seriously control your blood pressure and not be a walking time bomb,
Order 120 Life today.
120 Life is an amazing blend of superfruit juices that can actually help lower your blood pressure. It's been endorsed by thousands of health professionals and doesn't have the side effects of medication.
With ingredients that have shown to naturally help control blood pressure, 120 Life could be the natural game changer in your life.
Try it for yourself, risk-free, with a 2-week trial pack.
Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
120 Life is so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in just 2 weeks, they'll give you your money back if you're not satisfied.
Order the 8-ounce drink or powdered mix. From pomegranates to cranberries, it's the delicious way to lower blood pressure.
Go to 120life.com now. Use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
Is thinning hair or a receding hairline making you self-conscious? Try Hair Grow from New Nordic. Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start feeling your best with Hair Grow.
541. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Stevenson inbound, 30 minutes already, 3:55 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Brake lights, Ashland into the Dan Ryan. Dan Ryan Express inbound 31st to the Stevenson. You're on the brakes. Tri-State northbound already jamming up between the Reagan, I-88, and the Eisenhower Expressway. Maywood, emergency crews are on the scene as 9th Avenue is shut down between Madison and Washington after a car slammed into a tree. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast, a service of Trim Light Chicago. Got to see it to believe it. Amazing, customizable, and permanent holiday and year-round accent lighting for the exterior of your home or business. It's not too late to book your holiday installation, but do it today at Trim Light Chicago. Partly sunny and pleasant today, high 76. The rain starts tonight with a thunderstorm as well. Low 51, and showers in the morning tomorrow, breaking for afternoon sun, high 66. Clear and 42 right now. Next news coming up at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, Dan, are you sure that accuser Stacey Williams doesn't have the clap from hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein?
I have no, what? I have no idea. What?
I mean, my God.
I don't want to think about that.
Okay. Too early for that kind of talk? Yes.
Coming up right now, Kamala Harris, as we were talking about, mentioning, and we addressed this Atlantic hit piece. So you had the Atlantic hit piece yesterday, Trump is Hitler, former Trump official saying he wanted obedience to him, not obedience to the Constitution, so on and so forth. General John Kelly, chief among them. And so this was the occasion for Kamala to come out and do a press conference to comment. Of course, she's not taking any questions. If there are any questions to be asked, Maria Shriver will ask them because she knows what we're thinking. This is the case that Kamala made yesterday.
So yesterday we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired four-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify, in his mind, as the enemy within. Like judges, like journalists, like nonpartisan election officials. It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is. This is a window into who Donald Trump really is, from the people who know him best, from the people who worked with him side by side in the Oval Office and in the Situation Room. And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one and vowed to use the military as his personal militia to carry out his personal and political vendettas. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions. Those who once tried to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses would no longer be there, and no longer be there to rein him in. So the bottom line is this. We know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want? Thank you.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. So he's besties with Epstein, and he fancies himself the 21st century American Führer. That's what we're supposed to believe, according to Kamala and company.
But doesn't this sound familiar? He's unhinged. He's unstable. He's incredibly dangerous. He has a fascination with dictators. This is exactly, Dan, what Hillary Clinton did in 2016 within 2 weeks of the election. Here's just a snippet.
I don't understand Donald's bizarre fascination with dictators and strongmen who have no love for America.
What he has laid out is the most dangerous, reckless approach to being president than I think we've ever seen. And I say that
the
knowing...
most dangerous man ever to run for president of the United States.
I believe that.
Most dangerous man ever run for president. They're just ripping it from the scripts from 2016.
And then I'm sorry, can somebody refresh my recollection? Then what happened when he was president? He used the military as his private militia?
No.
He tore apart the Constitution and installed himself as dictator for life. He suspended elections. He imprisoned journalists. You know, the funny thing about the way he talks about, first of all, you know, it's stringing together all of these lines of propaganda that they have been promulgating for, well, some of them for 8 years, some of them for 4 years, some of them just this campaign cycle, like the dictator on day one, which we'll get to. But the enemy, you know, when he infamously called the D.C. press corps the enemy of the people, and they're aghast, and how could you say that, and you're endangering the lives of these heroic journalists, and so on and so forth. So then how did he treat the press corps after he called them the enemy of the people? Did he imprison Gloria Vanderbilt's kid?
No.
Chris Wallace? Joy Reid? No. What he does is then he goes on their shows. Mm-hmm. Then he goes on their networks. And he takes the fight right to them. And he indulges all of the invective that they have for him. So, again, the problem that Kamala has is that Trump is more popular after all that has been heaped upon him in terms of the ad hominem 8 years later, and he's too popular for her to win. So this is what they got. I mean, they got 2 weeks of Hitler and Epstein and any other angle they can get in to try to cast Trump as someone you should be afraid of, that you somehow after all of this, you don't really know, to the extent that you're treating him as a serious candidate and a viable president and somebody who can improve your quality of life. Your judgment is way off the mark. I mean, it's a tough sell. She's got a tough job to do, and I don't think this gets it done. Corey and Woodlawn, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. Morning, Amy. Listening to Kamala Harris talk, these are all of the things that the Democrat Party did. I mean, it's like they read the rules for radicals and they said, hey, let's just do this to our enemies. And they did exactly that. They colluded with DAs across the United States of America, bringing bogus charges. Then they bring out these women. They bring out these people from 30, 40 years ago. No one can corroborate them stories but themselves. And then they use these things to attack them through their media. So this is exactly what they've done to Donald Trump.
Thanks for the call,
and it doesn't stop. I mean, and it makes it hard for the real victims out there. That E. Jean Carroll was such a bunch of bull jive, and we broke it down several times. She didn't even know what year it happened, what season, what dress she was wearing. She said she was wearing a dress that wasn't even, developed. in that time frame. It's just sick what they're doing to him, and I'm sick of these women. I mean, honest to God. Again, they make it hard for the real victims out there.
Well, the importance of Kamala's words yesterday, not lost on KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House spokeswoman, and the Biden administration. So, this is a very serious discussion we need to have. We need to flesh out whether or not, per John Kelly and Kamala Harris, Trump fits the dictionary definition of a fascist, and this question was put to KJP.
Is the president aware of John Kelly's assertion that Donald Trump meets the definition of a fascist, and that Trump wanted the kinds of generals Hitler had?
I mean, look, you have heard from this president over and over again about the threats to democracy, and the president has spoken about that. You've heard from the former president himself saying that he is going to be a dictator on day one. This is him, not us. This is him. And it's not just us, the White House, saying this. You've heard it from officials, former officials that worked for the former president say this as well. So, do we agree? I know that the vice president just spoke about this. Do we agree about that determination? Yes, we do. We do.
Of course, it's unanimous. Another follow-up question. Do you think Chuck Schumer would like to give any of the money back that he took from Hitler? Other Democrats that Trump wrote checks to? Has anybody given any of the money back they took from Hitler?
Hillary Clinton?
The dictator on day one, which is like the good people on both sides, Charlottesville lie that the Democrats tell. Just again, to remind and inform, so you have this at the ready. This is the source of the dictator on day one lie that has been fomented and merchandised by the Democrats, the new Bolsheviks. Trump in a town hall with Hannity, and listen to the full context, and then think about what they're trying to sell, both Kamala and KJP and the rest of them.
We almost have to go to a break. I want to go back to this one issue, though, because the media has been focused on this and attacking you. Under no circumstances, you are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
for?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border, and I want to drill.
That's
drill,
not. That's
drill.
not. That's not retribution.
I'm going to be. He keeps. We love this guy. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, "No. Other than day one, we're closing the border." And we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
So that sounds to me like you're going back to the policies when you were president. All right,
exactly.
Take a break. Just getting started. We're in beautiful.
So it was obviously tongue-in-cheek, and the things that he's going to do on day one do not represent dictatorial maneuvers. They represent powers that the president has.
Well, and I'm old enough to remember when they called George Bush Hitler, John McCain, Mitt Romney, and even for a time, Paul Ryan. I mean, that's what the Democrats do. Any Republican that's in power that's running for high office or for the Oval Office, they're all of a sudden Adolf Hitler.
Mike, Littleton, Colorado.
Good morning, and thank you for taking my call. It seems to me that this whole endless narrative about Trump, I just think Trump happens to be very handy for them, is more broad and more dangerous to the nation. And that is, through this endless narrative, whether Trump wins or loses, the narrative justifies the endless counting of votes. The end, when these animals take to the streets, should Trump win, and you know it's going to happen, because at best, they're just dupes, cucks, simps, and, that kind of thing that, they're just liberals. But at worst, they're criminals. And honestly, the box Trump is going to be in is when these animals do take to the streets. Should he win? They're daring him to shoot. That's what's going to happen. And I think honestly, they're just thinking out into the future, and it's like, okay, how can we keep this narrative forever, so we can sit and count, in a back room in Chicago or Philly or whatever, until miraculously we have just enough votes to win. And that's the sinister part of it to me. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
You know, the big wireless companies want you to overpay for data that you don't need, but you don't have to settle for that with Pure Talk. Well, you get to choose how much data that you actually want. And for $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, unlimited text. You're going to get mobile hotspot, 5 gigs of data. Go with Pure Talk, and you get to choose how much data you actually want. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and if you do it now, you'll save an additional 50% off your first month from Pure Talk.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
It's really quite extraordinary, and I'm 68 years old, and I've always been very, very active. My weight is a very good weight. I take care of my home all by myself. I have an acre of land. I'm so sold on this product, I can't tell you.
We love the Balance of Nature. Has been amazing. I keep seeing the ad for it, and I'm like, you know what? It wouldn't hurt to have more fiber. I don't know. We just feel better.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, it's Scott Tucker, host of Retirement Dakota with Scott Tucker. Heard on AM 560 on Sundays at 8 a.m. and again at 5 p.m. I want to offer you a free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? To get your free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? Just go to retirementdakota.com. That's retirementdakota.com. And please listen every Sunday at 8 a.m. and again at 5 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
There's no ignoring it. Americans know they've been lied to by the ruling class, that politicians want more control over their lives and more taxes for nonsense. Who voted for this, and how do we get back to normal? It starts by being informed. But who do you trust when the media censors information and colludes with those in charge for their own political power? Breakthrough Ideas is a beacon of clarity in the storm of politics. At Breakthrough, Jeannie Ives and her team follows the legislation and the money and reports back to you so you know who's on your side. Elections matter. Be an informed voter. You can do that by listening to The Real Story with Jeannie Ives on Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. right here on AM 560. Visit breakthrough-ideas.com to sign up for the newsletter, register for upcoming events, and stay informed with fresh content. Then connect with them on social media and share information with others. So together, we vote out the radicals and vote in common sense. That's breakthrough-ideas.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:06, Gloria Vanderbilt's kid and Kamala do a great who's on first, what's on second routine over the border wall. The CNN town hall last night at 6:06.
And when did she raise children? Very curious. It is now 6 a.m., WIND, Chicago.
The race for the White House runs through Georgia. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Vice President Harris will go there today after former President Trump campaigned in the state with 2 events. More than 2 million people have voted there already.
I've never seen anything like it.
There was a Trump rally in Duluth.
When I win on November 5th, the migrant invasion of our country ends and the restoration of our country begins.
Today, the former president will campaign in 2 more battleground states, Arizona and Nevada, after he posted on Truth Social that John Kelly, the retired general who used to be his White House chief of staff, is a lowlife with Trump derangement syndrome, after Kelly was again critical of his former boss, calling him a fascist. And Vice President Harris told a CNN town hall she agrees with Kelly.
And frankly, I think of it as he's just putting out a 911 call to the American people. understand what could happen if Donald Trump were back in the White House.
Now, at that town hall near Philadelphia, undecided voters asked questions.
What would you do to bring prices down for Americans?
Part of my background and how I come to it is probably a new approach grounded in a lot of my experiences as a former attorney general, where I took on price gouging.
Now, polls have shown more voters trust Trump on the economy than Harris. The former president has a 2-point lead over the vice president in a new Wall Street Journal national poll. Now, there's also an update on the Boeing strike. There will be no end to that. Picketing continues after nearly 2/3 of those workers rejected Boeing's latest offer of increased pay raises, bonuses, and 401k contributions.
Some of those on strike say they aren't happy with the offer because the company's refusing to restore a traditional pension plan that was axed more than 10 years ago.
That's Fox's Jill Nato. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has gone to Qatar, continuing to push for a ceasefire in Gaza a week after Israel killed Hamas's leader. And it's not done attacking Hamas. Palestinian officials say an airstrike today hit a school-turned-shelter, killing 16 people. America's listening to Fox News.
42 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Topping our news, police in Mexico have captured a man suspected of strangling an Illinois attorney to death in 2016. U.S. Marshals Service announcing that the Mexican authorities have arrested John Paniglian in Tepic. Paniglian had been on the fugitive task force list since 2020. He apparently strangled, according to investigators, 36-year-old real estate attorney Victor Patel at his Northbrook, Illinois law office in 2016. Mayor Brandon Johnson's communications director is stepping down. Ronnie Reese's damaging exit follows a rocky year and a half of communications strategy by the mayor's administration and continues a string of critical exits from the mayor's top teams. ComEd connections and former state lawmakers in the spotlight during the early days of the bribery and racketeering trial. Former Illinois House Speaker Mike Madigan. AM 560's Jim Talamonte has more.
Testy cross-examination between former state representative Scott Drury and Madigan defense attorney Todd Pugh extended from Tuesday into Wednesday. The two clashed over details about meetings and legislative procedures. Longtime ComEd executive Scott Vogt explained legislation passed by the General Assembly which benefited ComEd. Vogt also described a ComEd party attended by Madigan and co-defendant Michael McLean to celebrate a bill passing over then-Governor Pat Quinn's veto. Former State Rep Jeannie Ives says Madigan's associates were not interested in working with her.
They had no time because they just thought they knew that they could control the narrative and do whatever they wanted to, so they had no time for a lot of Republicans.
Former Democratic State Rep Lou Lang is expected to take the stand Thursday. In Chicago, I'm Jim Talamonte.
One man is dead, 2 others wounded. They were shot near the Howard CTA Red Line station on Chicago's north side. Someone in a vehicle fired the shots at 3 men standing on the sidewalk yesterday in the 1600 block of West Howard. Bulls lost to New Orleans 123-111 to open the NBA regular season. Blackhawks gearing up for Nashville at the United Center tomorrow night. Fighting Illini men's basketball program picked as the number 24 team in the country in yesterday's preseason poll. The news, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka sees only one option.
It's not just that it's a political choice, it's left or right. He's the only one who's going to do what needs to be done. He's the only one who's got what it takes. That's the actual truth about President Trump.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, this is Pastor Jim Scudder, and I'm so thankful that In Grace Radio is on 560 AM The Answer every Sunday morning. Now we're going to be on at a new time starting this Sunday, 7:30. We're on an hour later, and then you can listen to our Adventures in Grace. And I really hope that you will tune in every Sunday morning. May God richly bless you.
If your approach to everyday aches and pains is to mask them, feel better for a few hours only to have the pain return and then repeat the cycle all over again, it's time to try Relief Factor. And the good news is, Relief Factor makes that easy. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. Instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it. How? Well, its unique formula of ingredients helps support your body's response to inflammation. Relief Factor was developed by doctors. It's 100% drug-free, and for so many people, the results are game-changing, even life-changing. So give it a try. Right now, their 3-week quick start is just $19.95. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. See how in a few weeks or even days, Relief Factor can reduce your pain. When you feel better, life is just better. So don't mask pain. Fight it naturally with Relief Factor.
$20 million. No, it's not the national debt. It's the buying spree that Fox Valley Coins is on from now until Thanksgiving. It's really the perfect storm. Gold and silver are at historic levels. Fox Valley Coins has a huge order to fill with one of their national clients. And September through Thanksgiving is always when coin dealers stock up for Christmas sales. They are especially looking for the old collector coins like silver dollars, all 1700s through early 1900s coins. All kinds of gold from broken jewelry to gold bars to old coins, U.S. and foreign. All kinds of silver, from sterling silverware to old coins and bars to Franklin Mint items. They can pay cash or check, and we make house calls on larger deals prior to Thanksgiving. Fox Valley Coins, one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. They'll make free, no obligation offers. Make that 20,000,001 reasons to go to Fox Valley Coins now. They give free in-store offers on your items.
It is 6:08. Let's get an update on the roads for you in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of almostfreeteeth.com. What if you could save an average of 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back with a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP? It's possible. Check if you qualify. Almostfreeteeth.com. Kennedy inbound, 36 O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Outbound, an accident with a left lane block. It's outbound at Bryn Mawr. Dan Ryan, 18 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Accident reported on I-80 in Will County, eastbound at Harlem Avenue. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Partial sun, nice day, high 67. Clouds tonight, rain, thunderstorm late, low 51. A shower tomorrow morning, otherwise some clouds and sun, high 66. Sunny Saturday, the high 58. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
42 at O'Hare, 28, and clear skies in Aurora. Your next news update, 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Before we get to that CNN town hall with Kamala and Gloria Vanderbilt's kid, I want to try to use our little platform here to do some good. Our friend Verlon, friend of the show, also on with John Anthony on Black and Right often, he texted me the other day, I'm sorry to be texting you at this time, but I don't know what else to do. I got a call from my daughter's mother yesterday while I was at work. My youngest daughter has been missing for a week, and I fear the worst. I know something bad has happened. She has animals she loves. She would never leave a week. I'm just reaching out for a lifeline and looking for help wherever you can get it. The case has been assigned, I guess, finally to a detective at Area 2. Her name is Nevaeh, Nevaeh Galloway. She's 21 years old. And he also said he pulled up the last 3 months of phone text activity, stopped by her job, was going to try again yesterday, and I assume continue. Gathering a list of people I know she's talked to, trying to pinpoint where they live. They're doing flyers, so on and so forth. Her home is in the 9,000 block of Loomis, that's about what we know at this point.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is her cell phone is still on because it is still pinging, and when they call, it doesn't go straight to voicemail. So it took a while for Area 2 to get involved, but I've been talking to Verlon every day and giving him some advice just from how I can help or anybody else. And so is John Anthony, and so are you, by doing this and letting people know. But these are trying times. I mean, this is, you go to her work, you talk to her friends, you try to backtrack where she was last seen because they're having a hard time pinpointing the last time that somebody saw her.
So we're going to post, I'll post her, he sent me some photos of his daughter as well. I'm going to post the photos. I'll put them on Twitter so you have a little bit more to go on, and a summary of what I just said. So, I don't know what exactly anybody could do other than be vigilant and spread the word to help out our friend Verlon. Okay. Getting to business at hand, CNN Town Hall yesterday. Again, this is supposed to be a friendly forum for Kamala, but she sort of got baited into a Abbott and Costello routine with Anderson Cooper, of all people. Not exactly the most wily guy out there. And it was over one of the fundamental issues of the campaign, and that's border security, and specifically a border wall. Kamala must have forgot that as she's running around touting her support for this quote-unquote bipartisan legislation that Trump allegedly killed, but in point of fact, the American people did through their elected representatives, and a number of senators opposed it as well, Democrats.
Yeah, 6 Democratic senators.
But she must have forgotten that part of that wonderful compromise legislation, which was not wonderful, was $650 million for construction of a border wall. And that sort of got her twisted up as she was trying to denigrate Trump's record on border security, which takes enough stones as it is. And so that's how this went for Kamala.
Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw is about 2%. And then when it came time for him to do a photo op, you know where he did it? In the part of the wall that President Obama built.
But you're agreeing to a bill that would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to further strengthen and secure our border. Yes, I am. And I'm going to work across the aisle to pass a comprehensive bill that deals with a broken immigration system. I think Jackson's question, part of it was to acknowledge that America has always had migration, but there needs to be a legal process for it. People have to earn it. And that's the point that I think is the most important point that can be made, which is we need a president who is grounded in common sense and practical outcomes. Like, let's just fix this thing. Let's just fix it. Why is there any ideological perspective on it? Let's just fix the problem.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I am not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything. I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
I mean, honestly, she is self-imploding before our eyes, people. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that same line.
And if you found that confidence inspiring on the issue of border security, then you'll love this, too. The issue of decriminalizing border crossings, which is something that she previously supported. And like fracking, she doesn't now, she thinks.
I mean, you did raise your hand saying in a debate when asked if border crossings should be decriminalized, but obviously that is not your position.
I never intended, nor will I ever allow America to have a border that is not secure. I believe we need to deal with illegal immigration. There needs to be consequences, which is why part of my plan that I have outlined, and again, please go to KamalaHarris.com. Sorry to throw a website on you, but why not?
I can't remember what my position is.
I'm desperate.
And you will see that part of my plan includes what we need to do to actually do more as it relates to putting resources in, including increasing penalties for illegal crossings.
Oh, now we're increasing penalties for illegal crossings. But this is Kamala, a mashup of Kamala on decriminalizing illegal border crossings, not just when she raised her hand at the debate when she was running for president, but throughout her career as she was Attorney General, aspiring U.S. Senator, aspiring presidential candidate.
It is wrong to somehow suggest that an undocumented immigrant is a criminal. Being an undocumented immigrant is not a crime. I know what a crime looks like. An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal. 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 An undocumented immigrant.
How many times does she have to say it until she reverses her course and with the same moral force says, of course we have to penalize people who come into this country illegally, and I aim to increase those penalties.
She's such a fraud. She will say anything to get elected, people.
Bob in Buffalo Grove, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Thanks for taking my call. Thanks for all you do educating your listeners. And let me educate you. Tuesday, I attended the Breakthrough Ideas meeting on the border, where I heard border agent Rodney Scott along with Sarah Carter. And Rodney Scott offered some interesting details on the border and the wall. I asked him how many miles of the wall were completed. 500 miles were completed. But as soon as Biden got in there, he stopped construction. More importantly, major portions of the wall were not fully completed in terms of all the high-tech cameras, smart systems. Biden shut all that technology down on the wall. I just wanted to offer that with regards to the lies that are coming out of the Biden administration and Kamala.
Thanks for the
call. And also, too, the construction material that was there when Biden took office, they sold for a fourth of the price, too.
DHS report out yesterday. DHS now. This is the Biden-Harris DHS. At least 600 Venezuelan migrants associated with the violent Tren de Aragua gang are now living across the United States. As we talked about the other day, you actually have law enforcement documenting their setup where they have their North American headquarters in Juarez, Mexico, and they have all of these outposts in big cities like Chicago, as well as smaller communities like
Aurora, Colorado.
Like Aurora, Colorado, for example. One other Kamala Harris immigration stumble didn't occur with Gloria Vanderbilt's kid, but did on Telemundo.
Oh.
This should, again,
you
this
mean
should be...
Univision?
No, it was Telemundo.
Telemundo? Oh.
This should be home cooking for Kamala, just like the CNN town hall should be. But there is no such thing as home cooking for Kamala because she just can't remember who she is and what she believes a lot of the time.
Right now we're talking about border security, and there's nobody, no Democrat, talking about pathway to citizenship, an immigration relief, and the benefits that migrants bring to this country.
Oh, but there's no question that migrants bring. America is a country that was built in part by immigrants.
But people are concerned
who have
about their
come,
TPS, their DACA, we're talking about mass deportations.
I'm not talking about.
What do you stand on mass
anything
deportations? What's your stand there?
We need smart, humane immigration policy in America that includes a pathway to citizenship.
I have a great playlist. I have a playlist. I have a great playlist. I have a playlist.
Hey, mama.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice send-off for Kamala.
I mean, again, she has had the worst 4 days of any presidential candidate I've seen in a long time.
Jack in Northwest Indiana.
Good morning, guys. So early on in her campaign, we were told that she was the last one to leave the room, that she wanted us to believe she was all part of Joe's policymaking team, a key member. And now they've had 4 years, roughly 4 years, to come up with this great immigration policy. They ignored it. They left the border wide open. And now we are magically to believe that she is all for a strengthened border, actually using the word illegal immigration, before undocumented right now. So it's amazing how she can flip-flop just to meet her objective of November 5. It is just astounding, and I wish people, and I do believe they are waking up, but she really is imploding, and it's self-evident.
Thanks for the call, Jack. Well, there was another moment in that CNN town hall that I really...
I got to get to one, too.
I really enjoyed, and that was... let's give Kamala an opportunity to display her humility. We all make mistakes, and we learn from those mistakes. And so Anderson Cooper asked a pretty simple question, pretty standard, almost like a job, like an entry-level job interview type question.
Is there something you can point to in your life, political life, or in your life in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
I probably worked very hard to make sure I was well versed on the issues, because it would be a mistake not to be prepared to answer questions on issues. So her mistake was not making the mistake of not being well prepared.
See, you heard that, and what I heard
that is the best. That is tantamount to a deficiency you have. I care too much. The mistake I made is not making a mistake.
Okay, you heard that. I heard, well, as parents, we make mistakes. What kids did you raise? When she got married to Doug Emhoff, Cole was 20 years old. 20. Ella, who's a fashion model, by the way, at IMG Model Company, real looker, she was a sophomore in high school, and they lived with their mom. Now, I'm not saying that, at best she was a good stepmom to young adults, which does have value, but she said it repeatedly last night about, the trials and tribulations, raising kids. I raised kids. I know. I raised children. She said it multiple times. When you have children, your values change. Your priorities change. The way you look at the world changes. It inherently changes you, and you'll do anything to give your children a better life than you had. And she has not had that shared experience. So stop saying that.
Edward, Northside.
Yeah, I just want to say, if you really believe that this illegal immigration is a foreign invasion, which I do, then the proper thing to do is to put the U.S. Army on the border, not the National Guard. The Army. And you see these illegals coming across the border, you say, halt or I will shoot, like an enemy soldier. Then you give them a choice. Go back to where you came from, or you go to a POW camp. Not an American prison where you get to see a lawyer. You get no lawyers, no letters, no president decides to let you out. And that's how you deal with it.
No, it isn't how you deal with it. No, it's not how you deal with it. That's ridiculous, actually. There's no reason to be over the top, and there's no reason to be inhumane. First of all, it's not an invasion. It's an invitation. Right. They have been invited here. Mm-hmm. So that's the fault of this administration. And, you know, treating people coming here, mostly who are unarmed, I presume, as stop or I'll shoot. You're not shooting somebody who's unarmed. We're not shooting anybody who's unarmed. Oh. That's ridiculous. We're not putting people in prisoner of war camps who are not enemy combatants. That's also ridiculous. What we're doing is turning people away. I mean, that's what should be done.
Right.
What we're doing is you want to enter through a port of entry and you want to go through a process to legally emigrate into this country. That's one thing. You want to seek asylum. That's one thing based on the actual asylum criteria, not these expanded criteria that have bastardized the asylum process. That's how you do it.
You build the wall and you don't let them in.
This is all well within our scope and competency, as Trump demonstrated in his first term, with the right people managing Department of Homeland Security, ICE, and the other agencies that are responsible for border security, in combination with the right policy making at the executive level and the legislative level in Congress. There's no reason to hyperventilate over this. No, we know exactly what to do. There has been an unwillingness to do it because there is a political agenda that is being prioritized over the security and economic interests of Americans.
And keep in mind yesterday, the CNN's audience, those were undecided voters.
So they say. Well, Rich in Indian Head Park.
They weren't laughing along with her.
Yes. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. She keeps talking about common sense and how these policies are just common sense. Well, she shouldn't be using those words, common sense, when she has no sense at all. She makes no sense at all. So I think she should never use those words, common sense. She doesn't even know what they mean.
Thanks, Rich. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
All right, you've heard the Turnkey name for years on AM 560, and maybe you've thought that you don't need help because you've made it this far with your network. You've grown your business. You've acquired other businesses. Do you have more than one network that you've hobbled together? Maybe your sales team has grown, or your client base, or your network is old and outdated, holding your business back from its full potential. You know, all of these reasons can leave your business open for security breaches, stop production, compromise sales, and cost you thousands of dollars. Don't leave it up to the hourly IT manager that comes when he's available. Turnkey understands the importance of having a network you can count on. For the price of a monthly car payment, Turnkey will fully protect your network with the most secure, up-to-date cyber protection, unlimited backup, unlimited 24/7 help desk support, and real-time threat hunting, all by world-class technicians who really care about helping people. So protect your small business today. Here's what you do. Visit turnkey.pro. Turnkey.pro, the champions of small business. That's turnkey.pro. Pro.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Family, country, community. Ed Soliday has spent his life in service to others. A graduate of Valparaiso High School, Ed Soliday went on to attend Indiana University and served our country in the Army, where he earned the Distinguished Flying Cross, 2 Bronze Stars, and a Purple Heart. After his military service, Ed Soliday built a successful career as a pilot and flight safety expert, leading crisis management at United Airlines on 9/11. Now, Ed Soliday is serving us at the Indiana State House, where he puts people ahead of partisanship. Representative Ed Soliday is a respected voice working to protect taxpayers, secure our energy grid, and attract better-paying jobs to the region. Ed is endorsed by the Indiana Fraternal Order of Police, the Indiana State Police Alliance, and the Indiana Professional Firefighters PAC. Representative Ed Soliday. Common sense leadership for Northwest Indiana. Vote Ed Soliday for state representative on or before Tuesday, November 5th.
Paid for by Friends of Ed Soliday Committee.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
A Democrat billionaire financier Bill Ackman builds on his 33 reasons why he's supporting Trump in a sit-down with CNBC. We'll start there at 6:36.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
6:31 is our time, 41 degrees, and time is running out for the candidates to make their pitch. Ahead of the November 5 election, Vice President Harris will reportedly make a final pitch with a speech on the National Mall next week. Reports say she'll speak in the same spot where Donald Trump spoke to supporters a few years ago. South Carolina Republican Senator Tim Scott explained on Fox's Hannity last night how former President Trump continues to make record gains with African American men.
Of success, perhaps one of the lifetime for African American issues, from college funding to low unemployment, high enthusiasm, wages growing faster at the bottom than the top. But he also focused on things like crime and sickle cell anemia.
Senator Tim Scott. Former President Trump will gear up for a pair of campaign events out west today, rallying in the battleground states of Arizona and Nevada. This morning, Chicago-based McDonald's believes that slivered onions may be the cause of an E. coli outbreak that killed one man and sickened 50 others. The Boeing Machinists Union is rejecting a new labor deal. Here's AM 560's Mark Mayfield.
The news comes after a 64% vote against the deal, which included a 35% wage increase over the next 4 years, higher 401k contributions, guaranteed payouts in a bonus program, and a higher signing bonus. The aerospace giant reached a tentative deal with the striking workers this past weekend. Over 30,000 machinists walked off the job over a month ago. Boeing reported a $6 billion loss during the last quarter, with an over $8 billion loss from January through September. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Mayor Brandon Johnson's communications director is stepping down. Ronnie Reese's damaging exit follows a rocky year and a half of communications strategy and follows a string of critical exits from the mayor's top teams. A man is dead following a shootout with police in DeKalb. Rockford police say officers investigated a shots fired call Tuesday night in the 4800 block of Creekview Road. They determined the suspect was holding a hostage. After several hours, the hostage was released, but the suspect remained in the car. He suddenly fired several shots at police, who eventually returned fire, killing that subject. And a new report from the NTSB revealing new information about the operator of the CTA Yellow Line train that crashed last November. The Yellow Line train, you may recall, collided with a snow removal machine, injuring dozens. The NTSB now says the train operator had alcohol in their system above the blood alcohol content limit for train operators. Bulls struggle in their season opening loss in New Orleans, 123-111. Blackhawks gearing up for Nashville at the UC tonight. The news is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. What if you could save an average of 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With a Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify, AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The lineup for Freedom Summit Chicago 2024 just got bigger with the addition of Dinesh D'Souza. He joins Dr. Sebastian Gorka and economist Steve Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, Jeannie Ives, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by JeffBuysYourHouse.com and by the Kaplan Law Firm.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
61 years old. I'm doing my first bodybuilding show. I'm going to go straight to a national event. Well, I was a power lifter all my life, and I just lucky a year ago met Mr. Michigan and Mr. Olympia, and they asked me what I was doing, and next thing you know, I'm 4 weeks away from my first on-stage show. I've been taking the Balance of Nature for a long time. It's been incredible.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Crime is up in Illinois, and I'm not sitting back to wait and watch dangerous, radical left policies destroy Kane County. I'm Andrew Sosnowski. I have over 35 years of experience with prosecutions of crime, advocating for victims and children. I'm the independent prosecutor in the race for Kane County State's Attorney, and I will work to end cronyism in the office. I will root out the causes of crime, collaborate with law enforcement, and be the lead county prosecutor who will fight for our freedom, safety, and security. Vote for the only law and order candidate, me, Andrew Sosnowski, for Kane County State's Attorney on Tuesday, November 5th. Early voting starts September 27th and runs through November 4th. Go to sosnowskiforkane.com to learn more. Remember, without safety and security, we do not have liberty. I'm Andrew Sosnowski, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Sosnowski for Kane Committee.
Early voting in downtown Chicago is now open through Election Day on November 5th. You can now go to the Chicago Voting Super Site at 191 North Clark or board offices at 69 West Washington Street on the 6th floor to vote. Early voting in all 50 wards of Chicago begins Monday, October 21st at 9 a.m. Any voter can vote at any early voting site, no matter where they live in the city. Same-day registration is available at all early voting sites. Just bring 2 forms of ID, one with your current address. Go to chicagoelections.gov for more information.
Jordan B. Peterson, We Who Wrestle with God Tour.
If you say the truth and nothing else, you'll have an immense adventure as a consequence. You won't know what's going to happen to you, but the truth will reveal the world the way it's intended to be revealed, and the consequence for you will be that you'll have the adventure of your life.
Live at Rosemont Theater, January 15th. Get tickets this Friday at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
6:39, let's get you to the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of LifeLock. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. LifeLock warning about phishing scams, tricking you into revealing personal info. For even more protection, choose LifeLock. Start your 30-day free trial at lifelock.com/cybersafety. Inbound Edens right now, stop and go. You'll hit the brakes at Foster, 24 in to the junction. The Kennedy already at an hour 5 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. On the Ike, bad situation this morning inbound as you're traveling between Manheim and East Avenue. You have delays there because up ahead near Austin, you have an accident, car versus motorcycle right now that's being tended to. 51 and climbing, 390 into the old post office. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Partly sunny and pleasant, high 67. Rain finally starts overnight. Maybe a thunderstorm late, low 51. Morning showers tomorrow. Clouds break in the afternoon, high 66. Saturday, sunny and 58. Clear and 41 right now. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Bill Ackman is a billionaire financier, rose to some additional prominence during the whole pro-Hamas protests that roiled the campuses in the Ivy League, including his alma mater, Harvard, where he came out and basically excoriated Harvard and then President Claudine Gay's handling of it and suggested that his donations would be stopping and so forth. He has also, against the backdrop of the war in the Middle East, continued to move from the left to at least the center. And then a couple of weeks ago, he seemed to make a decided move a little bit further to the right, maybe right of center, because he penned this missive on Twitter, on X, talking about how many of his friends, remember there's the billionaire circles, elite circles.
You're familiar with them, right, Dan?
Mainly left circles. Billionaire friends couldn't figure out why he was supporting Trump. So he put together 33 reasons why he is. The 33 actions that he describes below. It describes below it, I'm reading from his missive, are the Democratic Party and the Biden-Harris administration actions. They're also the actions and policies that, unfortunately, our most aggressive adversaries would likely implement if they wanted to destroy America from within and had the ability to take control of our leadership. Boy, talking about his fellow travelers, at least at one time, as Manchurian operatives. Pretty interesting, coming from Bill Ackman, pretty buttoned down. And it's all the stuff that, of course, we know, we talk about, but I do appreciate that he went national as well as local. He talks about open borders. He talks about the withdrawal from Afghanistan. But he also talks about modifying the bail system so that violent criminals are released without bail. Hello, Illinois.
Oh, yeah.
Destroying our street retailers and communities and promoting lawlessness by making shoplifting, except above large thresholds, no longer a criminal offense. Hello, big blue city America, including Chicago. Cook County, and on and on and on. Well, he was on CNBC yesterday under heavy questioning from the obnoxious Aaron Ross Sorkin, but the whole CNBC panel there on that in the Investotainment deal they do. And I thought he gave another reason that's not contained in this list of 33 in terms of why he's supporting Trump versus Kamala Harris, and he made it sort of a team analysis, the Trump team versus the Kamala team. Take a listen.
Let's talk about team for a moment, because it's not really Trump versus Harris. It's the Trump team versus the Harris team, right? So what have we seen? So Trump's picked J.D. Vance as his vice president. Walz is a self-described knucklehead, right? I can't imagine a world in which this guy is president of the United States. And you have to look at the vice president as a potential president of the United States. So that's... Right. If I line them up, you've got a guy who grew up in a very, very challenged environment, addiction, family, rural America, makes his way to Yale, armed forces. Now he's, venture capitalist, senator, extremely articulate, obviously highly intelligent. So you compare and contrast. You have Elon Musk, who's probably one of the most consequential, certainly consequential business leaders 100%. In the world. It's proven he can take on 12 things at the same time and change the world, okay, who's going to he's put himself out here in this election. And first, the only one talking about government efficiency, right, and Trump's all in. By the way, RFK, okay? Right. RFK is a highly intelligent, capable person, and he's focused on a couple of issues that mean a lot to me. Number one, the food industrial complex, what's happened to the health of Americans over the last couple of decades, he's going to focus on that. I think that is a critically important issue. I think examining the 73-shot regime that we give our kids is worth doing.
the Trump team versus the Kamala team. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer and text line. And by the way, and Elon Musk, just as a quick aside, because I want to get to Mark Cuban, since his name was invoked as like a billionaire on Kamala's side. I think it was by Joe Kernan, and I think it was meant as a joke because Mark Cuban is a joke. But anyway, just on Musk for a second, talking about the Trump team versus the Kamala team. DOJ sends him a letter essentially warning him that his $1 million giveaway deal
could be illegal.
May be violative of campaign finance laws. What is that? If somebody wants to file an FEC complaint against Musk that has standing to do so, well, they're welcome to do that. What is the DOJ preemptorily policing possible violations of FEC law?
It's just election interference. It's bullying. They want him to stop doing it. So, I mean, I've never heard of that before. Have you? Where they said you might be in violation of the law?
Not if he didn't seek like some sort of declaratory opinion about what he's doing, which I presume he didn't from DOJ. He has his own lawyers. By the way, Bradley Smith, former FEC commissioner, we've had him on the show many times, suggests that probably not a violation of FEC laws because he's not paying people to register to vote. He's paying people to or giving them a chance to win this $1 million prize by signing a petition. He just requires they be registered to vote. So the sweepstakes is based on the signing of the petition, not based on registering to vote. Just so you have a little bit of knowledge of the counter argument to all the hysterics that are being advanced by the left on this. But just that DOJ, I mean, these guys just cannot help themselves. That DOJ letter to Musk is yet another example of the lawfare of these powerful federal agencies that have been completely run amok, and why this team issue that Ackman is bringing up is so important. My conversation with Victor Davis Hanson this week, I posted a clip about, and we talked about it a bit yesterday, about what he thinks happens if Trump wins. And he made the point about the lessons learned by Trump with the appointments that he made. Silly ones like Omarosa, as well as ones that were swampy and he didn't appreciate it, sort of falling in love with the uniform, some of the generals that have now been the most publicly critical of him, and others. But VDH went on to say, in 2016, nobody wanted to work for Trump. Very difficult to find talent because of just the anomalous nature of it and the shock to the D.C. system and people that are interested in, having a career and an appointment, but then going back to a career in whatever field they're in now and probably a successful one. So they were nervous. Well, now VDH said not that people should be measuring the drapes or starting the interview process, but the resumes are coming in 4 and 5 deep for the positions that the president has power over in terms of political appointees, including those that are requiring Senate confirmation. Anyway, that there is an influx of talent that is, desirous of working for Trump. And so hopefully the combination of the lessons learned and the talent pool getting deeper means a much better team in 2024 than he had in 2016. Okay, so on the just because Cuban was invoked, I mean, comparing Mark Cuban to Elon Musk, I mean, talk about
please.
It's an absurd comparison. And actually, frankly, I think even Mark Cuban would agree with that in terms of importance as an entrepreneur. But Cuban did a sit down with Kamala. Another friendly audience, and I mean, can't get more friendly than this. But listen to this back and forth. I mean,
is it going to make my eyes roll behind my head?
It's just the lack of intellectual heft from both of them is striking.
I don't think he pays attention to the details, and you can't be president of the United States
unless you pay attention to the details.
Yeah, that's fine if he wants to, just give speeches in random places for random reasons, but to talk about such significant policy like tariffs, much less foreign policy, he is applying a machete. when a scalpel is what's necessary.
It makes no sense to me whatsoever. To me, I think Donald Trump is the Grinch that stole Christmas. This time next year, we're going to be thinking about Christmas presents for all of our kids. And if he puts a 60% tariff on everything from China, those prices are going up. And now all of a sudden, your vision of everything you wanted to have for your kids at Christmas is gone. Donald Trump just crushed it.
Donald Trump is going to ruin Christmas.
2025.
I mean, come on. I mean, Mark, first of all, the whole thing is completely disingenuous because the Biden administration continued the tariffs on China.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, I mean, if you want to have a discussion, this is a freaking presidential candidate and a billionaire. And so if you have $1 billion, you're supposed to be smart. You don't have to be, obviously, but you're supposed to be. I mean, if you want to have a discussion on tariffs, that's fine. I'm happy to have it too. But I mean, like, Rand Paul has an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal that is very anti-protectionist in tone and pro-free market, as you would expect from a libertarian like Rand Paul. But it's a substantive case that warns about the dangers of using tariffs generally and particularly as aggressively as Trump has indicated he would use them. But, I mean, this protectionism, first of all, crosses the political spectrum. And secondly, you know, as we talked about with Steve Moore and others, you know, he may be posturing to try to get a lower tariff environment, use the threat as a cudgel to bring the Chi-Coms to the table. Maybe, maybe not. It's still a high wire act. But I mean, to talk about it in this way, Trump is going to ruin Christmas. I mean, it's just so juvenile.
Well, they're just so desperate right now because she's not doing well. And by, you know, Nate Silver said if the election was held today, Trump would win in a landslide. And I mean, all these new polls are out, but you can watch her self-imploding. Every single question that's asked, she cannot answer it because she doesn't have an answer.
Dave in Romeoville.
You know, what you were just talking about reminded me. I heard a story. Remember Robert Lighthizer? And he was the tariff guy for Trump.
Yeah, trade
and they said he would bring in him, and he'd make these free traders defend their positions against him. And they always called him the chaos president. They talked about these fights in the Oval Office. And evidently that was true, but it was because people's ideas got challenged. Like, he heard both sides of arguments. Sean Spicer just recently said the same thing, too, with these piss-off generals, that they came in and gave a proposal on Afghanistan, and afterwards Trump goes, I want 10 enlisted guys brought in here, all that served in Afghanistan. And when the generals heard that he did that he was going around their opinions and their chain of command, they got butthurt about it. But that's what he does. He seems like he just brings ideas from everywhere, and you can never even tell what he understands because he doesn't make his own case very well. You got to listen to the people around him.
Thanks for the call, Dave. Well, I hope he continues to do that. As I agree, he did that to some extent, but he still had people around him that were not idea people, and so I'm not promoting that everybody has to be lockstep in line with Trump on any particular policy area, but it's just more about talent. Right. It's just more about talent, and yeah, people want to have substantive arguments. Well, that's good.
Get rid of the jokesters like Scaramucci, people like that. Don't even bring them into the henhouse.
Just in terms of rounding this out, I thought. Bill Ackman that was a very heady, conceived case that he makes. But the best case I've seen recently against the Dems in general, Kamala and company, up and down the ballot. Tucker Carlson, he went on a riff about sort of them and this country and what they've done and how we've reacted and what we need to do now.
It's the party of weirdos, of envy, of hate, of resentment, of bitterness, of weakness, of a total lack of creativity. It's a party of conformity. It's a party of the machine, where it doesn't matter who the candidate is because individuals are immaterial. All that matters is the collective. That's the Soviet model. And opposing them is the rest of the country, slowly waking up to the fact that these people have no moral authority whatsoever. They have no legitimacy in a democracy. where the government must rule by the consent of the governed. They have no consent. And the way that they've treated this country over the past 4 years is the most shocking thing I've ever seen in 55 years. To allow millions of people, mostly young men with no skills and no English, into our country illegally, and then fly them around at our expense and give them phones and put them on welfare programs that no American citizen can get. It is the most insulting. Yeah, boo. But it's worse than boo. That's the biggest crime in the history of the United States of America. And it takes incredible stones, incredible gall for the people who did that to stand up there on a stage and give you a lecture about how you're immoral. It's too much. And so that's the second important thing about this election, okay? The first is every person in this room needs to understand you are not in a despised minority. You are in an incredibly gentle and tolerant majority who put up with this crap for way too long. As they insulted not only you, but the memory of your ancestors who died for this country. They tore down statues to their memory. People have never built anything in their lives. They went out of their way to humiliate you and spit on you and the graves of your ancestors. And that's not an exaggeration. They did that. And this country is so nice. It's so polite. It's so thoughtful and empathetic and sweet. It's the kind of country that loves dogs and gives directions to strangers that we put up with it for 4 years. But we can't anymore.
It's too much. I love the riff about the ancestors spitting on their graves and reminding people about the tearing down of monuments, people who have never built anything and never will, these new Bolsheviks, tearing down the hallmarks of this great country. That was a great riff. Very good. Joe in East Dundee.
Hey, Amy. I can't stand the show, The Sharks. I can't stand Mark Cuban. I think they are the biggest bunch of disloyal Americans in this country. And I think that that's part of the problem.
I don't know. That
outsourced everything to China right away, for the lowest common denominator here.
Thanks for the call, Joe. Well, I don't know about Shark Tank. I mean, Kevin O'Leary's on Shark Tank, and he's been pretty, not that he's necessarily a dyed-in-the-wool Trump supporter, but he's been pretty supportive of Trump and pretty critical of some of the ridiculous indignities he has had to go through, like the suit by Letitia James against his business, trying to essentially eliminate the Trump organization, his real estate business, with the bizarre civil action that she brought against him and the ridiculous fines and so forth. So no, I wouldn't go so far as anti-American. I just find Mark Cuban to be just sort of.
Well, he looks like Rachel Maddow now. Just say it. They've morphed into the same person.
I just find him to be such a lightweight intellectually.
Well, and also too, when he spoke in Wisconsin last week, he was using his cell phone. And if you're going to make an effort, go all in. Don't do it half. You know what? All right. Okay. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer
at 7:07, we have who do we have at 7? Oh, we've got Andy Kroll. We'll talk. Some of what Amy was just referencing, the poll numbers, the early voting numbers, when we may or may not get election results from Maricopa County, Arizona. That's all at 7:07.
And same with Michigan. Their Democratic Progressive Secretary of State has come out saying, not November 4th, maybe the 5th, maybe the 6th. We'll get into it, though, with Andy Kroll. But now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
A North Aurora woman's 1979 murder has been linked to a serial killer. Mayor Johnson's comms director is leaving. Police shoot a man who attacked employees at a DeKalb Toyota dealership. The Ruby Street Bridge in Joliet is closing today, while the Bulls drop their season opener. Illini basketball makes the top 25 rankings in the first poll of the season. WIND Chicago News Time. 7 o'clock.
They're going to the polls in yet another state. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Maryland joins the early voting party as Americans cast ballots in record numbers, more than 25 million so far.
The American people are fed up with the people that are leading us down a road to disaster.
Former President Trump at a rally in Duluth, Georgia, vowing to end what he calls an invasion, blaming Vice President Harris for illegal migrant gangs and crime.
She resettled these people into your communities all over America, and they're the roughest people.
A message the former president will bring today to Arizona and Nevada. Vice President Harris was asked about the border at a town hall last night near Philadelphia.
Let's just fix it. Why is there any ideological perspective on this? Let's just fix the problem.
Harris will hold a rally today with former President Obama in Georgia, again called Trump dangerous and unstable. CNN's Anderson Cooper asked her,
do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Agreeing with John Kelly, the former Trump White House chief of staff, who says the former president told him he wanted generals like Hitler had. A Trump Truth Social post calls Kelly a degenerate and a lowlife and a liar. Israel's hit Gaza with another airstrike. Palestinian officials say at least 17 people were killed at a school-turned-shelter. Israel says it targets militants hiding out among civilians. And a week after Israel killed Hamas's leader, Secretary of State Antony Blinken keeps pushing for a ceasefire in another country after trips to Israel and Saudi Arabia.
Blinken is expected to continue his peace talks with Qatar, which is actually a mediator for Gaza. Hamas's militant group actually has an office there as well.
That's Fox's Matt Finn in Tel Aviv. The Boeing strike that's halted some airplane production continues. The morning after almost two-thirds of those picketing workers rejected a new Boeing contract offer because it does not include their demand to bring pensions back.
We'll get through this, but this is where we're at right now.
That's Machinists Union President John Holden. America's listening to Fox News.
41 degrees in Chicago. It's 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Authorities revealing a major breakthrough in a 45-year-old cold case in Kane County. DNA testing, according to police, shows 19-year-old Kathy Halley of North Aurora was murdered by serial killer Bruce Lindahl, who died in 1981. DNA also linked Lindahl to the murder of Pamela Maurer of Woodridge in 1976. Mayor Brandon Johnson's communications director is stepping down. Ronnie Reese's exit following a rocky year and a half of communication strategy continues a string of critical exits from the mayor's top teams. An investigation continues after a suspect was shot by police Wednesday afternoon after stabbing an employee at a suburban car dealership. Officials from the city of DeKalb were called to Brian Bemis Toyota on Sycamore Road following reports that a patron had become upset and allegedly assaulted employees, stabbing one in the hand. One man is dead, two others wounded. It all follows a shooting at a CTA Howard Red Line station on the north side. One of the men died at a nearby hospital. The other two remain hospitalized, one in critical condition. Defense attorneys are trying to introduce the Odinism theory into Richard Allen's double murder trial in Delphi, Indiana. Wednesday marked day 5 of Allen being tried for the brutal murders of Libby German and Abby Williams. The judge has previously ruled that the defense cannot present the Norse paganism theory to the jury because of a lack of evidence. Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita threatening to sue the city of South Bend and local police departments. He's demanding both give his office information to determine if their immigration policies line up with state law that bans sanctuary cities. Chicago sports. Bulls struggle in their NBA season-opening loss in New Orleans, 123-111. Bulls trailed the Pelicans by just one at halftime. Bulls visit the Bucks tomorrow night. Blackhawks continue skating early on in the NHL season. They take on Nashville at the UC tomorrow night. The news service of Papa Nicholas Coffee. Hot air roasted locally and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk explains how things will go well.
Right now, the enthusiasm of Republicans is outpacing Democrats. Keep it up. It is not going to be enough for us just to start strong and to sit at home. You see, if we scale up our movement and force multiply yourself to find 5 more people, we're going to be in a good place.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Jerry Boyer for townhall.com. The Kamala Harris economic agenda is astonishingly bad. She wants to use the coercive power of government to impose price controls on things like food prices. 20 centuries of wage and price controls all tell the same story. Price controls lead to shortages. When big government causes inflation, more big government is not the answer. Hayek called this the road to serfdom. Government intervention into the market causes a crisis. Instead of rolling back the government intervention, authoritarian government intervenes again, causing a new crisis, and then more intervention to try to fix that. And on it goes until we become serfs, serving our government masters. Or until we wake up and realize the problem is government control over our lives. Harris's plan represents something far worse than the usual stagnation of Carter or Obama. It represents possible food shortages. Vote accordingly.
If your approach to everyday aches and pains is to mask them, feel better for a few hours only to have the pain return and then repeat the cycle all over again, it's time to try Relief Factor. And the good news is, Relief Factor makes that easy. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. Instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it. How? Well, its unique formula of ingredients helps support your body's response to inflammation. Relief Factor was developed by doctors. It's 100% drug-free, and for so many people, the results are game-changing, even life-changing. So give it a try. Right now, their 3-week quick start is just $19.95. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. See how in a few weeks or even days, Relief Factor can reduce your pain. When you feel better, life is just better. So don't mask pain. Fight it naturally with Relief Factor.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a doctor myself. I've used it and I've turned a lot of my patients onto it as well. It's a good product.
Balance of Nature is becoming pretty important out there to a lot of people. And when I first started, I was really impressed. I'm a healthcare professional, trained as a pharmacist. So anything that's natural, I like. And so it made a lot of sense.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. A structure fire is gumming up the intersection of 139th and Clifton Park. That's in Robbins this morning, with emergency equipment on the scene. And on the south side in the Auburn-Gresham neighborhood, 82nd Street eastbound shut down due to police activity, report of a shooting there. Delays on the Reagan I-88 eastbound between Route 31 to right past Eola Road, with a multi-vehicle accident being put onto the left-hand shoulder. Jane Addams eastbound, accident right shoulder eastbound just before Higgins. Traffic, a service of the Chicago Board of Elections. Early voting in downtown Chicago now open through Election Day, November 5th. Go to the Chicago Voting Super site or the board offices at 69 West Washington. Go to chicagoelections.gov for more information. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Partly sunny, a very nice day. A high today at 67. Cloudy tonight, periods of rain, a thunderstorm late. Low tonight at 51. A shower in the area tomorrow morning, then some clouds and sun, high 66. Sunny Saturday, the high 58. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
41 and clear at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So Kamala Harris has had a while now to come up with an answer to that zinger of a question, since you're talking about turning the page and a new way forward and all that sloganeering business. How would you distinguish a Kamala Harris term from a Biden-Harris term? She's had a while now, done a few interviews. She still hasn't really settled on an answer that works.
She should be prepared. Come up with one with your team. Something.
This is what she offered in that CNN town hall with Gloria Vanderbilt's kid yesterday.
Considering you have been in the position of vice president for the past 4 years under the Biden administration, how can we expect you to deviate from the direction of that administration compared to your own? How can we differentiate your policy and your beliefs from that of Biden's?
That's a great question, and thank you. Well, first of all, my administration will not be a continuation of the Biden administration. I bring to this role my own ideas and my own experience. I represent a new generation of leadership on a number of issues and believe that we have to actually take new approaches. For example, what we talked about in terms of housing. My experience that leads to that priority includes what I did to take on the big banks around the foreclosure crisis when I brought billions of dollars to homeowners that were the subject of predatory lending. I know what home ownership means to the American people, not to mention what it meant to my mother, who worked very hard and saved up so that by the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy our first home. I bring to it.
And it just went on from there. I mean, the policies are of the same kind, even if they're not specifically the same policy. In other words, it's the same approach in the housing sector or the healthcare sector that was taken by this administration and was taken by Joe Biden at the behest of the left. I mean, everything, all roads lead to and through government.
Well, she inferred that the Biden-Harris administration is a complete failure. But also, if you let that soundbite play on, Dan, she also mentioned again that she raised children, which has been my point of contention all day. All right.
And this is the same rap that she gave NBC earlier in the week. I'm running for president of the United States. Joe Biden is not. My presidency will be about bringing a new generation of leadership to America that is focused on the work we need to do to invest in the ambitions and aspirations of the American people. I mean, she wants to separate rhetorically without adding any substance to it, and it's not working. I mean, the polling that I know the D.C. press corps obsesses about, I know people are skeptical of, but it does provide direction. The polling is indicative of this flailing that she is experiencing. The Wall Street Journal poll that has her now upside down in terms of favorability, job approval, and has Trump actually slightly positive, 52-48, in terms of job approval, job he did. He also has a 10-point advantage when it comes to who do you trust on matters economic. I mean, those are real advantages. In addition, the Georgia poll, just looking at one battleground state, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution poll that has only 28% of men supporting Kamala Harris. She's down 30-plus points among men to Trump in Georgia. Again, all these people who think this is a toss-up, explain to me, based on the numbers that we're getting back, what her path to victory is.
Right. And the black vote, I mean, he got 8% of the black vote against Biden in 2020. Right now he's polling at 29%.
Well, where's that
that's an
poll? What's that
exaggeration.
poll?
That was a NBC poll, I believe.
Yeah, I've seen 17, 18, but regardless, if he doubles his percentage, that's another the Latino vote, the poll that came out, the Suffolk University USA Today poll that has Trump actually up 11. Hard to believe among Latino voters. I mean, all of those demographic numbers, all that data, again, explain to me what her path is. And clearly, she's struggling for a closing argument. If unless they're going to go with Hitler and friends with Epstein and think that's enough. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Andy Kroll, ProPublica national reporter, author of A Death on W Street: The Murder of Seth Rich in the Age of Conspiracy. Andy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great to be back as always.
So, what would you say to my assertion that I'm having a hard time discerning a path that would suggest that this race is so close as people say?
I'd say we could come at it from a couple of different directions. One is, let's look at the smartest polling averages that we have. That's Real Clear Politics, that's Silver Bulletin, that's 538, bringing together all the different polls. And if you look at those, it's basically a coin toss at the moment. I think there's a slight edge to Harris in a few of those. RCP, I think, is about dead even. But again, those are kind of reflecting everything building up to this moment. Those are a little bit backward looking. If you talk about some of that recent Georgia polling you just mentioned, it looks like that state might be turning toward her. And the most recent Wall Street Journal polling just out today that has him up by 2. At this point, if it's in that range, it's noise, and it could again go either way. That's within the the margin of error. On these
it's not.
polls.
It's not. Not when you look. The top line numbers are interesting, but not that interesting. Battleground states, and then look at those demographics, and you overlay those demographics in battleground states, and you can't make those numbers work for Kamala Harris. Not where they are right now.
Yeah, I think the points that you guys made about the numbers and the margins, really, with minority voters have to be alarming. If you're the Harris campaign, obviously, bleeding Latino voters, bleeding black male voters. We know what the Harris strategy is here. They are making the election as much about Donald Trump, attacking Donald Trump, seizing on these latest comments from John Kelly and every other line that they can to try to knock down his standing with female voters, with suburban college-educated voters. They know who their demographics are in Georgia, in Pennsylvania, in Arizona, in Wisconsin, and Michigan. And this, very negative, very sort of hyper-partisan campaign is really an effort to try to drive up the people that they think can balance out these demographic changes, the potential shifts that we've just been talking about with minority voters and male voters. That's the strategy. Whether it works is another question, but that is clearly the strategy at this point.
I hear you. Look, something I said several weeks back about this campaign is that whoever talks least wins. And and I think that's sort of bearing out because I you're right in terms of what the strategy is: make Trump box office poison, make it a referendum on Trump. Right. But you, first of all, that's not really working, and secondly, that only works if the opponent is a safe place to land. If people say, yeah, it's a referendum on him, and we can't have him, and so we're going to have her, and she's a safe place to land. The problem she's having is, one, his favorability rating is as good as it's ever been over the last 8 years, so that's not working. And two, she is increasingly not achieving that position as a safe place to land, in part because of answers to basic questions like she gave at last night's CNN town hall.
No, I think that's totally right. I think that you cannot just make this an anti-Trump campaign, there has to be some semblance of a message proactively from the Harris campaign. And obviously we've seen a decent amount from them on abortion, and that's clearly something the Trump campaign recognizes and is cognizant of, because you don't hear Donald Trump talking about that issue in the way that I think his more conservative base voters would like. But other than that, I think there was this moment maybe a month or so into the new Harris-Walz campaign where a lot of people were sitting thinking, okay, the sugar rush has worn off, the novelty has worn off. What is the message? What is the policy idea? What's the big sticky idea that this campaign is going to put forward, other than that Donald Trump is the worst and he would destroy the country or whatever? And nothing has really come in that space. We haven't really gotten anything, and there have been a lot of interviews, little things here and there. I thought maybe Harris would, looking toward Michigan, for instance, try to draw a bigger contrast with Biden on Gaza and Israel, but that really hasn't happened either. So I think a lot of people were just sort of left thinking, well, what does she stand for? What is the difference here? What is she other than just an anti-Trump vote? And maybe that's what you're seeing here, with people not seeing a safe place to land, as you put it, in this decision.
She's doing exactly what Hillary Clinton did in 2016, 2 weeks before the election, calling Trump unhinged, unstable, incredibly dangerous, loving dictators. So that aside, I don't think that's going to stick either, because they don't have a solid message. But what Trump is doing is really, and so are his surrogates, really urging people to go out and vote early. So how are we to read America's early voting numbers so far? Because it's off to a roaring start.
I would read a few things into these really sky-high numbers, and I think that they're important to talk about. One is the Republican strategy on early voting. We knew this maybe 6 months ago, was a dramatic 180 from 2020, when Donald Trump, I think, honestly hurt himself by spending most of the year talking about how mail-in voting wasn't safe, early voting wasn't safe, and I think probably took some of his own vote total out by doing that, or at least, put some doubt in the minds of his own voters. And this time, totally different message. Vote early. It's safe. You can do it. It's the right thing to do if you support Donald Trump. And so I think that the composition of those early vote numbers are going to be much more tilted toward Republican. I'm not saying more than 50%, possibly in some states, but I'm just saying the composition, there will be a lot more Republicans in there than there were before. And I think that this also shows, you look at the early vote numbers in Georgia, North Carolina, other states, those early vote numbers show that turnout will probably be at 2020 levels, again, just historically high. I mean, Donald Trump getting 80 million votes and not winning, we're probably looking at turnout numbers equally high or even higher this time around. In the past, well, maybe a decade ago, there was an argument. Remember the Obama people making this argument that high turnout elections were good for Democrats, lower turnout elections were good for Republicans. Again, this is what the sort of Democratic establishment like to say. That doesn't apply anymore. A super high turnout election, I still think, is just as likely to deliver a Trump victory as it is a Harris one. And again, what's different from 20 to 24 is you have Donald Trump and his team not demonizing or casting doubt on any method of voting like they did with early voting, mail-in voting in 20. They are saying, if you support us, vote early if you want, mail it in if you want, vote on election day if you want. That, based on what we know, would seem to suggest higher turnout on his side of the aisle than possibly even what we saw in 20, which was already an incredibly high turnout.
Where do you think congressional Democrats are right now in terms of their comfort level with this candidate and the impact she could have on the majority they have in the Senate and the majority they want in the House?
Anxious, in a word. I mean, I talked to some of these people in the course of my reporting. They're concerned. They're looking at the numbers in high-profile Senate races. Montana, Ohio, Michigan, obviously. they're looking at the polling in really sort of swingy House districts. I'm thinking about the Josh Riley race in New York, for instance, and seeing these razor-thin margins. And honestly, even seeing numbers like Tim Sheehy, Republican of Montana, numbers that show him consistently ahead of incumbent Democrat John Tester. And what's fascinating to see as well is in these races, the Tester race, the Sherrod Brown race in Ohio, others, you see Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin, obviously, you see the Democrats kind of getting close to Donald Trump. Tammy Baldwin has an ad praising how Donald Trump signed her Made in America legislation when he was president. That, to me, is an indication of not only an extremely close race, but a real concern that they are not going to get over the finish line because Donald Trump, as you said earlier, Dan, Donald Trump's, favorable numbers are about as high now as they've been since he left office.
Andy Kroll, ProPublica national reporter, author of A Death on W Street, The Murder of Seth Rich and the Age of Conspiracy. Andy, thank you as always.
Always a pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Have you heard about this guy, Donald Rainwater?
I sure have. Guy was a deadbeat dad. Total loser. Not only did Rainwater repeatedly fail to pay his child support, he filed for bankruptcy and had his car repossessed. But what did a court find he spent the money on? Cigarettes.
Hasn't he run for office twice before and lost each time?
Sure has. Maybe that's why he wants the job, so taxpayers pay off all his debts.
But there's someone even worse than Rainwater. This Jennifer McCormick character is a really out there liberal.
Yeah, she's a pro-Biden and pro-Kamala liberal. She opposed school choice, she supports boys in the girls' locker room, and did you hear what she said about Hillary Clinton?
Did you vote for Hillary Clinton?
She had some great, world foreign experience. So I did vote for Hillary Clinton.
Jennifer McCormick, she's hopelessly liberal.
I'm not voting for Rainwater or McCormick. They're both losers in my book.
Paid for by Indiana Republican State Committee, Inc.
All right, this fall season, don't forget your Balance of Nature supplements, a proud supporter of this radio station for 10 years. Remember that pumpkin pie and ice cream? Don't provide the fruits and vegetables your body desperately needs every day to stay healthy, happy, and energized. Ask yourself every day, gosh, did I get enough fruits and veggies? Did I get any fruits and vegetables today? If not, Balance of Nature supplements are the way to go. 6 capsules a day provides your body, your heart, and mind with several servings of 31 different fruits and veggies. I crack open my capsules into warm water. Mom throws hers into applesauce, and voila, good to go for the rest of the day. Young and old, young like Justin, old like Mom, they love their Balance of Nature. And you can be one of the cool kids, too, by ordering your fruits and vegetable supplements today. The number to call is 800-246-8751. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35% off your first set and free shipping when you sign up as a new preferred customer. 800-246-8751. Call now or order online at balanceofnature.com. And be sure to use coupon code Chicago to save 35%.
I think one of the things that patients don't realize is that when they get a joint replacement, that's not a lifetime treatment option. And they're probably, if they are a younger patient, signing up for multiple surgeries down the road.
As a physician and medical director for QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli's seen a pattern of trending joint pain. Prolonged medication, steroids, then surgery, possibly another surgery.
So a lot of our patients are trying to avoid or put off surgery, and this is the treatment that can help them do that.
QC Kinetics extracts your body's healing substances, concentrates them back into your aching joints to help heal and restore those areas, providing lasting relief.
Oh, I love being able to tell my patients, before we do this surgery, let's try another option. Let's see if this is right for you, because now they might not have to have surgery at all.
Call today for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Scott Bartmus, co-founder of ESCO, a security and fire alarm services business and a customer of Signature Bank.
We work hard to give our customers peace of mind, so it's nice to know that while we have our customers' backs, partners like Signature Bank have ours. When COVID hit, there was a lot of uncertainty for many businesses, particularly surrounding the PPP loan program, with parameters and deadlines changing constantly. The executives from Signature Bank worked weekends alongside their staff, filling out and submitting applications to ensure they took care of us. That type of dedication is hard to find, but we found it with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, Chris. How was your week?
Oh, sorry, Jen. I can't talk right now. The network is down again, and I can't access any of my files. What's worse, I'm late for a virtual call and past deadline on a project.
Let me help. I'll reboot the cable modem, wait 10 minutes, then reboot the router. Let's see if that works.
Sounds easy enough, but I shouldn't have to play resident IT director every time our equipment goes down. I shouldn't be messing with this IT work.
I agree. This technical stuff is stressing me out, and I'm tired of getting blamed by the boss for all of these outages.
We gotta convince the boss man to find a company to help us. This is just not working.
At Turnkey, we understand the importance of having a network you can count on, one that's reliable and doesn't go down. We provide quick, friendly service when things go wrong with no hidden fees for on-site support. Turnkey is the small business champion, delivering world-class service at the price of a monthly car payment. Visit turnkey.pro. That's turnkey.pro.
AM 560, The Answer.
Help mom fill out her Arizona mail-in ballot yesterday. You know, they had 2 pages of amendments on that, so it took a long time, but early voting's where it's at. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:38, we'll talk to the Manhattan Institute's Heather McDonald about the prophets of doom of the left, like we saw yesterday with Kamala Harris's presser. We'll start there. Heather McDonald at 7:37.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Catch up with the latest. Here's Mike Scott.
Sunrise this morning, 41 degrees in Chicago. Vice President Harris touching on a wide variety of topics during a CNN town hall on Wednesday. Harris started out saying she thinks Donald Trump is, quote, a fascist and unfit to serve, end quote.
Yes, I do believe that Donald Trump is unstable, increasingly unstable, and unfit to serve.
Former President Trump, meantime, gearing up for a pair of campaign events out west today, one in Arizona, the other in Nevada. The Republican presidential nominee criticized FEMA for its response to Hurricane Helene at an event yesterday in Georgia.
FEMA, meaning the White House, did not do their job. They did not do their job, and we got to change it.
Today, Turkey is striking back against terror groups it blames for a terror attack at a defense company there.
Turkey has carried out 2 sets of airstrikes. Follows yesterday's attack at the TUSAS aerospace and defense firm in Ankara, in which 5 people and the 2 assailants were killed. Armed with assault rifles, they set off an explosive and opened fire. The airstrikes targeted what are described as strategic locations used by a group called the PKK. The strikes took place in Syria and Iraq. The PKK is classed as a terror organization by Turkey, the United States, and others. It's not commented on the attack or Turkey's response. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Federal health officials are working to get to the bottom of an E. coli outbreak linked to Quarter Pounders at Chicago-based McDonald's. Right now, they're zeroing in on the slivered onions that go on that sandwich. Police in Mexico have captured a man suspected of strangling an Illinois attorney to death back in 2016. The man had been on the 15 most wanted fugitives list since 2020. Investigators allege he strangled 36-year-old real estate attorney Victor Patel in Northbrook back in 2016. A man is dead following a shootout with police in DeKalb. Rockford police say officers investigated a shots fired call Tuesday night, later determining the suspect was holding a hostage inside of a vehicle. After several hours into Wednesday morning, the hostage was released. The suspect remained in that car. He suddenly fired at DeKalb County sheriffs, who returned fire, killing that suspect. A report from the NTSB is revealing new information about the operator of a CTA Yellow Line train that crashed last November. The NTSB report says the train operator had alcohol in their system. Blood testing done at an area hospital after the crash detected a blood alcohol content above the legal limit for train operators. And Cook County has agreed to pay nearly $25 million to 8 men who were framed by disgraced former Chicago police officer Reynaldo Guevara. The men were convicted of murder, imprisoned, and later exonerated. Each man will get $3.1 million. The men still have lawsuits pending against the city of Chicago. And we'll watch today as Mayor Brandon Johnson's newly appointed school board will meet for the first time since the board's former members resigned in mass protest. Ahead of that meeting, Chicago Teachers Union has released some of their 5-year plan. Chicago sports. The Bulls lost in New Orleans, 123-111, and the Blackhawks gearing up for Nashville at the United Center tomorrow night. The news is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. With a Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% on average for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The lineup for Freedom Summit Chicago 2024 just got bigger with the addition of Dinesh D'Souza. He joins Dr. Sebastian Gorka and economist Steve Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, Jeannie Ives, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Aid for Women, Best Dental Group of Bartlett, and by the Michael Alfaro Radio Show.
Are you looking for a trustworthy garage to keep your Dodge Ram 45 or 5500 Cummins engine in tip-top shape? Look no further than Remke's Garage in Marengo. At Remke's Garage, their experienced team treats every car like it's their own. Plus, they believe in transparency, no surprises, just honest service and fair pricing. Check out the incredible reviews that satisfied customers have left on Google as they speak for themselves. With state-of-the-art equipment and a commitment to quality, they're proud to be your local choice for automotive care. And here's the best part, they offer free pickup and drop-off for your convenience. Both individually owned and fleet vehicle programs available to meet your needs. So why wait? Swing by Remke's Garage today and let them get you back on the road with confidence. Visit remkesgarage.com. Remke's Garage, repairing America.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a doctor myself. I've used it and I've turned a lot of my patients onto it as well. It's a good product.
You know, balance of nature is becoming pretty important out there to a lot of people. And when I first started, I was impressed. I'm a healthcare professional, trained as a pharmacist. So anything that's natural, I like. And so it made a lot of sense.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Few understand the impact this election may have on their retirement savings. In less than 30 days, our entire economy could face a monumental shift that could destroy a huge amount of value many Americans have stored in their 401ks or IRAs. In times like these, the most trusted store of wealth in human history stands out: physical gold and silver. Many Americans have looked to True Gold Republic for help. They specialize in helping those with a 401k, IRA, or other retirement accounts convert their stocks and bonds into physical gold and silver to protect their hard-earned savings. True Gold is offering listeners a free copy of their Election Gold Protection Kit today. To claim yours, call 800-300-GOLD. This information is free and might very well save your comfortable retirement. By acting before the election, you can still make a tax and penalty-free conversion with the help of True Gold's award-winning team. Call 800-300-GOLD. That's 800-300-GOLD. True Gold Republic is not a financial advisor. Consult with your tax advisor before investing. Call 800-300-GOLD.
Longing for thick, healthy, gorgeous hair? Say goodbye to shedding, thin, and dull hair, and hello to thick, healthy hair with Hair Volume from New Nordic.
7:39 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of the Chicago Board of Elections. Early voting in downtown Chicago now open through Election Day, November 5th. Go to the Chicago Voting Super site, 191 North Clark, Board offices, 69 West Washington, or go to chicagoelections.gov for more information. On the roads, interior expressways, Kennedy at 78 minutes, O'Hare into the Burn Circle interchange. The Ike right now an hour and 21 from 390 into the old post office. It's 1 hour in on the Stevenson from 355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan, 34 minutes, 95th into the Burn Circle interchange. On the toll roads, delays as you begin your roll on the Reagan I-88 eastbound between Roosevelt and the Tri-State, and on the Reagan in Kane County eastbound near Orchard Road, an accident left shoulder. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Partly sunny and pleasant. High 67 today. Rain moves in overnight, maybe a thunderstorm, low 51. Currently 41. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. After Kamala's presser, picking up on the hit piece in The Atlantic that focused on former Trump Chief of Staff General John Kelly's comments about Trump wanting loyalty from the generals to him rather than loyalty to the Constitution. That's the allegation that he wanted, saying something akin to, why can't you be more like the German generals and be obedient to the leader? By the way, in that Atlantic hit piece, as we discussed yesterday, the story it opened with, the story of the death of a service member, the murder of a service member at Fort Hood, has been completely repudiated by that service member's family, the Guillen family, as well as their legal representation. So let me just point of order.
Well, and also I saw them on Laura Ingraham last night too. They said they tried to get him to pull the story. Like, wait, we didn't interview. They interviewed with him months ago, almost 6 months ago. Gave them this guy Jeffrey, by the way, the same
Jeffrey
guy who
Goldberg.
said Jeffrey Goldberg, who also said suckers and losers, made up that lie. And then they found out what was going to go on last week. They called him like, pull the story. We don't want to be part of this, and he completely disrespected their wishes.
Yeah, well, timing is everything.
Yeah.
So after Kamala got done calling Trump Hitler, KJP was asked about it on behalf of the big guy, Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House spokeswoman. And it's unanimous.
Is the president aware of John Kelly's assertion that Donald Trump meets the definition of a fascist and that Trump wanted the kinds of generals Hitler had?
I mean, look, you have heard from this president over and over again about the threats to democracy, and the president has spoken about that. You've heard from the former president himself saying that he is going to be a dictator on day one. This is him, not us. This is him. And it's not just us, the White House, saying this. You've heard it from officials, former officials that worked for the former president say this as well. So, do we agree? I know that the vice president just spoke about this. Do we agree about that determination? Yes, we do. We do.
All right, everybody agrees Trump's a fascist. Let's get a reaction, I should say, from Heather McDonald. She's the Thomas W. Smith Fellow at the Manhattan Institute, author of When Race Trumps Merit, How the Pursuit of Equity Sacrifices Excellence, Destroys Beauty, and Threatens Lives. Heather, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
So you wrote about these prophets of doom, like Kamala and KJP and the rest of their company. Your reaction to that presser yesterday and this effort to relabel, I don't know, add more brand equity to the label that Trump is Hitler?
Well, it's preposterous. The party that has taken actual actions that resemble fascism is the Democrats. They are an absolute threat to free speech, the weaponization of the justice system to go against their enemies. There's no comparison. Trump did not collude with Google and Facebook to try and suppress legitimate scientific points of view, legitimate expression. That is what's the threat to our country. The whole fascist meme is heavily based on a deliberate bad faith misreading of an exchange that Trump had on Fox News with Maria Bartiromo when she asked him about whether he thinks there's going to be riots after the election. And he said, not from my people, but he said, we do have, lunatics and left-wing lunatics in this country, and if necessary, we would send the National Guard, or really, if necessary, the military. He was clearly referring to riots. This was transformed by Kamala Harris, by the New York Times, by the media, into him saying that he's going to call out the National Guard on people who didn't vote for him, on Democrats. That's completely a lie. He was referring specifically to Antifa thugs who destroy property, who destroy government monuments. So the case against Trump is based on deliberate misreading. Does he always speak as carefully as he should? No. He trades in hyperbole. Who trades in hyperbole as well? Democrats and Kamala Harris. There's nothing more hyperbolic than saying we are facing an existential threat from Trump.
Also the dictator on day one comment is like good people on both sides, Charlottesville. I mean, they're completely, as you described with he's enemy within and he's going to send the military out for people who disagree with him. They're purposefully misleading. They're lies, basically. They're lies because you know what he said and you know what he intended and you're dismissing it and you're turning it into something else anyway. And I guess my question is, the name calling, everyone who disagrees with me is Hitler is nothing new. So do you see anything that is particularly new or rises to a new level of perniciousness with respect to the political rhetoric?
Well, it's just the volume. I'm unfortunate enough to feel I should read the New York Times every day. And, it's easy to dismiss it and say, oh, come on, everybody knows it's completely discredited. Nevertheless, it still carries a lot of weight in the elite. And it's just stunning. Every single day they have a front page hit piece on him. Every single day. It is so egregiously one-sided. And so the volume of this, the unanimity among our elite organs that goes across the media into government, into the deep state, the bureaucratic agencies in the federal government, local officials, universities. It's really something. And so it's much more, I'm not going to say coordinated because I don't think there's any sort of deliberate conspiracy that people have worked on together, but there's an instinct that is endemic now to the left, which is to treat any dissent from their sacred worldview as dangerous and as inimical, and to not even try to understand it. And we, as conservatives, we live in a liberal world, and so we're surrounded by their arguments all the time. and understand them, understand their fallacies, but they really don't, and so it's maybe easy for them to completely demonize conservatives because they have no idea what the larger discourse is. They've silenced them, and then they continue to silence them based on their ignorance.
Well, it's not only the media. I mean, look at other government agencies like the FBI. When there was the ABC debate with Trump and Harris, David Muir saying, well, crime is down. But then the FBI quietly released revised numbers saying that they missed 1,699 murders, which is so appalling if one of your loved ones is one of those statistics. But why is it that crime is not being discussed at all, or law and order, on this campaign trail with Kamala Harris?
Well, Kamala Harris isn't discussing it because she knows, I assume, that despite what they say about the numbers going down, and I don't think that was deliberate on the FBI's part, I think it was just sloppy, but the fact of the matter is that any American that's been into a city recently has seen the disorder, has seen the squalor, has seen the shoplifting. We've seen the videos of these kids that are allowed to be completely feral because nobody wants to prosecute black criminals. The entire criminal justice system now is driven by one issue, that is race and racial disparate impact. That's why we're not enforcing the law. It's all about race. But the cities are out of control. When Kamala did bring it up, she did bring this up in an interview on The Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God. It was clear that she is still committed to her previously stated view that policing is systemically racist. She expressed opposition to stop, question, and frisk, which is the most effective tactic to getting guns off the street. You in Chicago, I mean, you've got drive-bys constantly. Yesterday there was a drive-by in Rogers Park, 1 dead, 2 injured. The day before, on Tuesday, a 15-year-old was killed in Woodland. This just goes on and on and on and on. Kamala doesn't want to talk about blacks killing other blacks. The Black Lives Matter activists don't want to talk about blacks killing other blacks. All they can talk about is police racism. If she gets in power, she'll have the rhetorical bully pulpit to continue demonizing the police. She'll have the federal power of consent decrees. I mean, Chicago is straining under its consent decree there. She'll put more on police departments around the country. So it's going to be Biden administration, demonization of cops ad infinitum.
I wanted to have you elaborate on your take on the vice presidential debate between J.D. Vance and Field Marshal Tim Walz there a few weeks back, because I thought it was an interesting take, with the moderators, Brennan and O'Donnell. The upshot is that what you saw on that stage is indicative of the fact that no matter who wins, the feminization of America continues. So what did you see, and why do you think that's so, and what does that implicate?
Well, the moderators, it was a quintessentially female debate in their choice of topics, of course, in their little snarky put-downs of Vance all the time. Yes, Senator, yes, Senator. Oh, we have so much to get to. Please, Senator, you're cutting them off. We have so much to get to. But the questions they chose represent what a feminized worldview is. Child care, family leave. This is not a major federal issue. The federal government constitutionally has nothing to do with paid family leave and child care. But under the feminized nanny state, it does. Housing costs, again, these are not federal issues. The classic was how they dealt with the immigration topic. The immigration topic is about the porous border and the refusal to enforce the law on the part of the Biden-Harris administration. Instead, they turned the border issue into a cudgel with which to bludgeon Vance. Their question was, are you really going to separate families if you want to deport illegal alien criminals? Will you separate families? Again, typical female, sentimental, avoiding the hard issues, avoiding the central issue, and putting Vance on the defensive. And, that family separation was also the big issue under Trump when he was trying to deport criminals. There's a way to deal with it. The deportation issue, you self-deport by enforcing laws on work. But anyway, they do not have the capacity to think about things in hard cost-benefit analyses. Of course, global warming was a big issue, and abortion. I mean, we've all become so inured to feminists controlling the discourse that we do think that abortion is like issue number one in the American polity. Sorry, it is not. It is not the main issue facing our country. The main issue facing our country is the economy, the quality of our culture. Are we going to be able to continue with Western civilization, or are we going to continue tearing it down? Are we going to destroy ourselves through mass immigration, bringing in cultures that will not assimilate? But the feminized worldview only looks at the world in terms of a certain set of victims, and we saw the COVID response, classic safetyist feminism. Be safe. That was the mantra. Be safe. It made me sick. And refusing to think about costs and benefits of shutting down the economy. Are you causing more harm than you are preventing? Is COVID really the biggest harm? What about heart disease? What about cancer? What about car accidents? But the females are now. Males are an endangered species. White males are the last to be admitted to any institution. The highly qualified white males are not getting admitted to medical schools, to law schools. They're not getting promoted in medicine. Every mainstream institution celebrates the demise of white males by celebrating the elevation of less qualified intersectional candidates.
Not your typical female. Heather McDonald, Thomas W. Smith Fellow at the Manhattan Institute, author of When Race Trumps Merit, How the Pursuit of Equity Sacrifices Excellence, Destroys Beauty, and Threatens Lives. Heather, excellent. Thank you as always.
Thanks so much, Dan and Amy.
Thank you, and she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Durkin, founding partner of the Martech Group, a global market research firm based in Chicago since 1985 and a longtime customer of Signature Bank. When our business moved to our current Loop location, I recall seeing Mick O'Rourke and his two business partners, Brian Duncan and Kevin Bastuga, laying the foundation for Signature Bank. When Signature opened its doors in 2006, I was proud to move our accounts there and become a shareholder. Being in the consulting business, the Martech Group has a keen understanding of the value of relationships, trust, and attentiveness. Whether dealing with our U.S. practice or our international operations, Signature Bank is always there when we need them. That's why the Martech Group is proud to have Signature Bank as a valued business partner.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Family, country, community. Ed Soliday has spent his life in service to others. A graduate of Valparaiso High School, Ed Soliday went on to attend Indiana University and served our country in the Army, where he earned the Distinguished Flying Cross, 2 Bronze Stars, and a Purple Heart. After his military service, Ed Soliday built a successful career as a pilot and flight safety expert, leading crisis management at United Airlines on 9/11. Now, Ed Soliday is serving us at the Indiana State House, where he puts people ahead of partisanship. Representative Ed Soliday is a respected voice working to protect taxpayers, secure our energy grid, and attract better-paying jobs to the region. Ed is endorsed by the Indiana Fraternal Order of Police, the Indiana State Police Alliance, and the Indiana Professional Firefighters PAC. Representative Ed Soliday. Common sense leadership for Northwest Indiana. Vote Ed Soliday for state representative on or before Tuesday, November 5th.
Paid for by friends of Ed Soliday Committee.
AM 560, The Answer.
I'm still giggling over Heather McDonald's characterization of Margaret Brennan and Nora O'Donnell as typical sentimentalist females. She said it in an exasperated way. That was a great riff. She's good.
Always a pleasure having her on. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
And we're going to talk to Bill Gage. He's a former U.S. Secret Service special agent, and he suggests that people pump the brakes on their criticism of Secret Service a bit because it's not like you see in the movies. Okay, well, we'll hear him out at 8:08.
Lots of questions for him, but now let's head into that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Mayor Johnson's comms director is leaving. We'll tell you why. NTSB report shows an operator in a yellow line, Skokie Swift crash, had alcohol in their system. Police shoot a man who attacked employees at a DeKalb Toyota dealership. The Bulls drop their season opener in New Orleans, and the Blackhawks get ready for the Predators. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
They have just 12 days left to make their case. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, but as former President Trump and Vice President Harris keep going into battleground toss-up states, more than 25 million Americans have already made up their minds, voting early.
I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of criminals into our country. And I will bring back the American dream. Going to bring it back very quickly.
That was at a Trump rally in Duluth, Georgia, where the former president blamed Harris for not doing enough to stop record illegal immigration, claiming again
she was in charge of the border. Do you know, I asked the Border Patrol, did she ever call? Not once.
Now, the Republican-led House Judiciary Committee has just put out a report that nearly 1 million immigrants in the U.S. illegally can stay indefinitely after their cases were either dismissed or closed or the government failed to file proper paperwork. Vice President Harris said at a town hall near Philadelphia,
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to further strengthen and secure our border.
CNN's Anderson Cooper told her that bill includes funding for a wall that she called stupid and medieval when Trump was president.
You do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
The vice president also called Trump a fascist, unstable and unfit to serve. She'll hold a rally today in Georgia, and next Tuesday, a week before the election, the vice president will make a speech in Washington at
the same site where former President Trump rallied his supporters on January 6, 2021, claiming the election had been rigged against him. Campaign advisors to Harris say they believe the ellipse location will spotlight Trump's worst moment.
That's Fox's Jill Nato. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's in Qatar, continuing to urge Israel to end the war in Gaza a week after killing Hamas's leader. And he's pledging more U.S. aid to Palestinians.
Today we're announcing an additional $135 million in humanitarian assistance.
So Israel hit Gaza with another airstrike today at a school turned shelter. Palestinian officials say at least 17 people were killed. Israel maintains it's targeting militants hiding among civilians. America's listening to Fox News.
.41 degrees in Chicago at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Mayor Brandon Johnson's communications director is stepping down. Ronnie Reese's damaging exit follows a rocky year and a half of communications strategy. ComEd connections and former state lawmakers in the spotlight during the early days of the bribery and racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker Mike Madigan at the Dirksen Federal Building. Here's Jim Talamonte.
Examination between former state representative Scott Drury and Madigan defense attorney Todd Pugh extended from Tuesday to Wednesday. The two clashed over details about meetings and legislative procedures. Longtime ComEd executive Scott Vogt explained legislation passed by the General Assembly which benefited ComEd. Vogt also described a ComEd party attended by Madigan and co-defendant Michael McLean to celebrate a bill passing over then-Governor Pat Quinn's veto. Former State Rep Jeannie Ives says Madigan's associates were not interested in working with her.
They had no time because they just thought they knew that they could control the narrative and do whatever they wanted to, so they had no time for a lot of Republicans.
Former Democratic State Rep Lou Lang is expected to take the stand Thursday in Chicago. I'm Jim Talamonte.
Chicago sports. Bulls struggle in their season opening loss in New Orleans, 123-111. They visit the Bucks tomorrow night. Blackhawks are gearing up for Nashville at the United Center tomorrow night. Week 8 of the NFL season kicks off with Thursday night football, Rams and Vikings. 8:03, time for the AM 560 Business Beat. It's a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
American Airlines earnings top forecast. The stock's up nearly 6%. American says its team demonstrated its continued resilience in the summer quarter by quickly recovering from the CrowdStrike tech outage and hurricanes Debbie and Helene. Southwest Airlines shares up more than 5%. Its earnings easily top forecasts, and Southwest says it will buy back an additional $250 million worth of its stock, though both companies are customers of Boeing. Boeing shares losing ground after the latest contract offer was rejected by striking machinists. United Parcel Service is holding up much better than expected. The number of packages it delivered was up 6.5% in the recent quarter. Both earnings and revenue top forecasts. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jimmy Cosola, invested in you.
The news, a service of Turnkey.pro. For less than the price of a monthly car payment, Turnkey will fully protect your network with up-to-date cyber protection, unlimited backup, unlimited 24/7 help desk support, and real-time threat hunting. Protect your small business today. Visit Turnkey.pro today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka lays out your choices.
On one side, you've got a self-made billionaire who loves America and wants to fix it. What's on the other side? A woman who is really a perfect embodiment of the left-wing elite. It's not a political statement, it's a factual statement.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Millwright work is often technical and requires a high degree of precision. The pros at Vans Industrial are skilled mechanics that can perform any type of millwright work, including installation and maintenance of your factory equipment and machinery. For your machine repair needs, look no further than Vans Industrial.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. Vans Industrial is an industrial millwright contractor that can install new mechanical systems or repair existing systems. Our services include repair of bearings, shafts, shiv alignments, as well as installation of conveyors and bucket elevators. Our team of trained mechanics will respond to your emergency calls 24/7, keeping your systems operational. We're here to help you.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your facility. That's 833-VANS-IND. Interested in what else they do? Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care. Only better.
If you have high blood pressure, you have the #1 risk factor for mortality.
Don't be a walking time bomb. Make this change and watch your blood pressure drop.
Order a 120 Life today.
Yes, 120 Life is an amazing blend of superfood juices that can actually help lower your blood pressure.
It's been endorsed by thousands of health professionals and doesn't have the side effects of medication.
It's up to you to control your blood pressure, not Big Pharma.
Seriously, 120 Life could be the natural game changer in your life. Try it yourself risk-free with a 2-week trial pack. You've got nothing to lose but your high blood pressure.
Go to 120life.com and use promo code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
120 Life is so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in just 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied.
Order the 8-ounce drink or powdered mix. From pomegranates to cranberries, it's the delicious way to lower your blood pressure. It really works.
Go to 120life.com now. Use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
8:08. Let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of the Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of ad properties. Christie's International Real Estate, experts in the northwest suburbs and Chicago with over $800 million in sales. You'll get the most value for your home. 708-828-0000 on the Reagan. If you're traveling between Randall Road and Naperville Road, you've got a medical emergency and emergency equipment blocking a right-hand lane. 8094, pulling an accident out of your way westbound between Ripley and Broadway. In Wadsworth this morning, westbound I-94 from the Tri-State up to Hunt Club Road, completely shut down due to an overturned dump truck. That activity is being monitored. We'll let you know when things are improving. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Partly sunny, a very nice day. A high today at 67. Cloudy tonight, periods of rain, a thunderstorm late. Low tonight at 51. A shower in the area tomorrow morning, then some clouds and sun, high 66. Sunny Saturday, the high 58. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
42, sunshine at O'Hare. Next news, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So again, this bipartisan report that came out on the attempted assassination of President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania last week concluded that in the absence of fundamental reform, another Butler can and will happen again. The report suggests that Secret Service should shred responsibility for investigating financial crimes, forgery and so forth, so it can be hyper-focused on its most vital task of protecting protectees. The report makes broader criticism of the Secret Service's culture, including, quote, a pattern of undertraining, an attitude of doing more with less, which is inconsistent with its no-fail mission, an over-reliance on assigning personnel based on categories like former candidate versus nominee, instead of individual risk assessments, and a lack of auditing and continuous improvement mechanisms. The report also, specific to July 13th, finds that there was inadequate planning and coordination before the July 13th rally in Butler, and placing the AGR building and where the shooter was positioned and the surrounding area outside of the secure perimeter. That was a mistake. The report also states the local sniper teams inside that building had a narrow field of vision, were not positioned to monitor the building. There was no unified command center to facilitate communications between the Secret Service and its state and local partners. And the shooter did not use a ladder to access the top of the building, but instead climbed on air conditioning units along the side of the building to easily scramble onto the roof. Perhaps that should have been noticed as a potential area of concern.
Use it as a step ladder. There you go.
In addition, there's some questions about who actually shot the would-be assassin. I don't know why the panel doesn't reach a determination on this. It would seem that you could determine this by the caliber of the bullet that took out the would-be assassin, but there's a suggestion that it was a local law enforcement officer that fired the first shot that may have gotten crooks to stop the would-be assassin to stop shooting, but the Secret Service sniper is still being given credit for the kill. Regardless, it's a pretty comprehensive indictment of the Secret Service, not just with respect to July 13th, but with respect to the culture writ large. But our next guest has written a piece for The Hill, thehill.com, in which he suggests that, there's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking by people who don't appreciate the nature of the job of being a Secret Service agent and what goes into it, and that, it's not like Clint Eastwood in The Line of Fire. That's not the gig. It's a little bit more complicated and perhaps mundane than that. For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by the aforesaid author of that piece. He is Bill Gage, former U.S. Secret Service Special Agent, from 2002 to 2013, during which he protected George W. Bush and the Obama and designees of their administrations. He is now a senior security consultant with Safe Haven Security Group. Bill, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for having me.
So I guess maybe get your reaction to those the conclusions drawn in that report that was issued last week in the context of what you want people to understand about Secret Service.
Yeah, and Dan, I read the report, and those of us that, within the first couple days after the incident in Pennsylvania, those of us that kind of inside knowledge of Secret Service mechanisms and these complex protective operations kind of figured out right away probably what most likely went wrong, one of which was the miscommunication during the pre-advance between the Secret Service and the local law enforcement. And that's what led to who was responsible for the AGR building. And I've been on numerous outlets talking about that even before this report came out, that most likely what happened was some miscommunication between who was specifically responsible for what areas at the event. And so, the next question is, well, why would the miscommunication happen? And listen, it could have been inexperience on the part of the site agent. It could have been inexperience or just an oversight by the supervision, because these protective plans have layers of supervision that are supposed to approve them. And, let's be honest, and I've talked about this on other outlets, the Secret Service is stretched incredibly thin and have been for several years. They were stretched thin when I was there. And it's a simple supply and demand equation where there's only a certain supply of agents with an incredibly increasing demand for them. There's more living presidents now than ever before. The Secret Service has picked up family members, grandkids. So they're stretched incredibly thin. So that probably had a lot to do with why there was some miscommunication there between local law enforcement and the advance agents.
Well, regardless of the number of agents, I mean, what's the normal protocol? What does a site agent have to, organize in order to have a safe area for any president to visit? I mean, what's the local, what are the rules when you're meeting with local police? How do they interact with Secret Service to secure the president?
Well, as someone who's done many, many sites, you have to be incredibly specific. And generally, the Secret Service gives the local law enforcement sort of what we would call like no access posts, like no discretion. Nobody comes through here under any circumstances. I remember one time being at a post early in my career at a hotel in downtown DC, and an not elderly, but maybe in his 70s, gentleman came up to me and said, "Hey, I need to get through here. I have an event to get to." And I said, "Oh, no, sir, you're not allowed through here." And we had a conversation, not really an argument, but a discussion back and forth. And he tells me, that he needs to get to this meeting. I called the senior site agent who came over and said, "Oh, yeah, he's fine. He can come through." And as he walked through, the senior site agent whispered to me, "Hey, that's Mr. J.W. Marriott. He owns Marriott Hotels." And so you have to have like a discretionary or non-discretionary post for the local law enforcement so they don't run into these situations. And, another reason that you have to be very specific with the instructions for them is that they don't do this every day like a Secret Service agent would. And so they might not understand sort of what I call like a measured response to things, because I've been on many outlets. I've talked about this at every single Secret Service event I worked in my 12 plus years there. At every single site, there was always a report of a suspicious person, a man with a gun. There's possibly a bomb here. Those go on at events all the time. And at every single event, you can't immediately rush the president off stage because there's a suspicious person in the crowd, or report of suspicious person, because one, it would just be simply embarrassing for the president. They wouldn't be able to get their job done. So the Secret Service has to take this measured response until there's some confirmed threats And I know that's been talked about a lot, and even the report, the House report mentioned that about how, the Secret Service detail, the detail leader for Trump in Pennsylvania was really never specifically told, hey, there's a man with a gun on the roof, until, obviously well after the shots had been fired.
Yeah. So, I mean, the building itself, though, I mean, we've talked to other Secret Service agents, including Tim McCarthy, about this, and they really don't provide any defense for the failure to do like the basic thing that you don't need to be a Secret Service agent to understand, that you don't let anybody who is a non-authorized personnel onto an elevated position within sight of the stage where a president or any protectee is going to be. So even if there is a lack of communication, I mean, you have people there, you have dozens, if not hundreds, of law enforcement there. I mean, you see a building that is unprotected. You see snipers that have full view of the footprint of the place. I mean, how does nobody see that this is a vulnerable position that needs protection? And then when you have people that were attending the rally pointing over there and saying "man with gun," and local law enforcement, you had the one local law enforcement captured on his body cam audio saying, I told these guys about this shooter. I mean, I understand it's more complicated than I understand. I haven't been a Secret Service agent, but I mean, there's just it's not a resource issue. That's a judgment, leadership, organizational issue, what happened at Butler.
So a lot to unpack there. So, just to touch on your first point, yeah, clearly either two things should have happened. Either the AGR building and those surrounding buildings should have been considered inside the perimeter. Either that should have happened, or two, there should have been some dedicated resources to the building, both the perimeter and the interior, with very clear instructions on no one is to access this building under any circumstances. And though neither of those two things happened, and that was a clear failure. And how that failure happened, I'll just circle back to what I said at the beginning of our conversation here, which was clearly that was the fault of the site agent and the overlapping supervision who was supposed to approve, because there's always a supervisor walkthrough that occurs at these pre-advances, or not pre-advance, but during the advance, before the event happens, there's always a supervisor who walks through. So clearly the supervisor missed that as well. And so I agree with you and maybe some of the other guests you've had on. Tim McCarthy is a very revered figure in the Secret Service. So clearly his judgment and analysis can be trusted. And I agree, if that's something that he said, that clearly was something that should not have happened.
What was the culture like for your more than a decade of service at Secret Service? Because, this isn't the first time that Secret Service has been called into question in terms of what exactly is going on in that agency. In fact, Susan Crabtree, the investigative reporter for Real Clear Politics, has been writing about Secret Service for more than a decade. And there have been some pretty high-profile, embarrassing episodes, both here and overseas, that speak to I don't know, a lack of accountability within the Secret Service. And frankly, the response from Secret Service in the wake of July 13th has been less than inspiring, where sort of general responsibility is accepted, but no, the site agent who all you professionals say was obviously failed. We don't want to. I'm not going to start naming names. I'm not going to start naming positions. Well, that's exactly what needs to happen if you want anybody to believe there's accountability within the agency. And that doesn't even get into some of the personal excesses and so forth that have occurred there. So, I mean, I get your perspective. I would like your perspective on the culture when you were there, how professional it is or isn't, and what you think should happen in the wake of these latest attempts on President Trump's life.
Yeah, great question, Dan. I want to break that down into two parts. The first part, listen, during my time there, and it's the case now, you have an agency made up of incredibly dedicated and competent people, very bright, smart people, very capable, that get let down by their agency. I have said this on other outlets, that every director since 9/11 has failed, because when The world changed on September 12th, right? We had an entirely new threat environment, and there was tons of money and assets and resources being devoted by the U.S. government to defending the homeland and increasing the budgets of the FBI and creating homeland security and giving enormous amounts of budget increases to Border Patrol and HSI and ICE and the FBI, and the Secret Service essentially got crumbs. And there should have been a vast increase in the size of the agency and the budget and the capabilities after 9/11, and every director from 9/11 on has failed. They might have asked for a little bit here, a little bit there, but there should have been a significant focus, laser focus after 9/11 on increasing the size and capability of the agency. So let me then talk about your second point there, Dan, where, listen, all the sexiness of the Secret Service that you see on TV with the earpieces and the sunglasses and the mystique, that's great. But the truth of the matter is that these are federal employees. They have federal civil service protections. And I'm not agreeing with that system. I'm just saying the reality of it is the Secret Service cannot come out and say, oh, employee X failed and we are firing them. These employees have civil service protections. And the Secret Service has to navigate very complicated federal civil service laws. They have rights in accordance with the law, and it's very difficult to fire a federal employee regardless of where they work. And so I think that's one thing that's being missed by members of the media, and I don't mean that negatively, Dan, at all. I really appreciate the media. It's part of the reason I enjoy coming on these shows to try to set the record straight. But, the fact of the matter is federal employees, regardless of the agency, they have civil service protection and rights, and the Secret Service just cannot fire them without due process.
No, that's true. I mean, but that speaks to a larger problem in the federal government. But you could still identify people who are responsible and hold them accountable to the extent the rules and regulations allowed. And it just doesn't seem like that happens. And somebody will quietly retire once the attention has been moved elsewhere, and that's just not accountability in my view. What about the culture there when you were there?
Yeah, so, the culture kind of mirrored what I was saying earlier. Highly dedicated people that spend days and weeks, away from their families, motivated, that just got let down, by the agency repeatedly as far as training and capabilities of the agency. I know people want to focus on these incidents that portray a bunch of hard partying, fraternity-like atmosphere of agents out, not focused on the job and spending their hours drinking in bars, and for the male agents, trying to find women to,
right.
Yeah. So, that was not my experience. But listen, the Secret Service hires from the human race. It is not some, outlier out there that has some secret method to screen prospective agents, to ensure that they're not going to behave that way. And so the Secret Service hires from the human race. And, you even look at an elite agency like the CIA, they have personnel problems. And I'm not trying to
starting at the director level
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I simply am saying that every elite agency, even our Tier 1 military special ops units, they have personnel issues from time to time. So my experience was that was such a small percentage of Secret Service culture and not, by and large, what I experienced.
All right, so in your piece, you said that a protectee of yours once soiled himself. Can you tell us who that was, and if his last name rhymes with Ryden?
Listen, I have a sense of duty and honor to the Secret Service.
I know you can't tell me.
Yeah, and I won't reveal any of the names that I did mention in the article. I do want to come out and say that just so there's no speculation, because I've been on other outlets and podcasts, and there's internet sleuths out there. I've had this happen to me where they research stuff and they come back and they're like, oh, it had to be this person. I would tell you that was 100% not President Biden. It was somebody else. I just want to make that clear that it was not President Biden, but out of a sense of duty and honor.
I understand.
To the Secret Service is not going to reveal any of the names in that piece.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, there are so many, octogenarian politicos in D.C. It could have been anybody. Anyway, Bill Gage, a former U.S. Secret Service agent, 2002 to 2013 during W and Obama. Now a senior security consultant with Safe Haven Security Group. Bill, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Have you heard about this guy, Donald Rainwater?
I sure have. Guy was a deadbeat dad. Total loser. Not only did Rainwater repeatedly fail to pay his child support, he filed for bankruptcy and had his car repossessed. But what did a court find he spent the money on? Cigarettes.
Hasn't he run for office twice before and lost each time?
Sure has. Maybe that's why he wants the job, so taxpayers pay off all his debts.
But there's someone even worse than Rainwater. This Jennifer McCormick character is a really out there liberal.
Yeah, she's a pro-Biden and pro-Kamala liberal. She opposed school choice, she supports boys in the girls' locker room, and did you hear what she said about Hillary Clinton?
Did you vote for Hillary Clinton?
She had some great, world foreign experience. So I did vote for Hillary Clinton.
Jennifer McCormick. She's hopelessly liberal.
I'm not voting for Rainwater or McCormick. They're both losers in my book.
Paid for by Indiana Republican State Committee, Inc.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at mvpcfp.com. That's mvpcfp.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to mvpcfp.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Family, country, community. Ed Soliday has spent his life in service to others. A graduate of Valparaiso High School, Ed Soliday went on to attend Indiana University and served our country in the Army, where he earned the Distinguished Flying Cross, 2 Bronze Stars, and a Purple Heart. After his military service, Ed Soliday built a successful career as a pilot and flight safety expert, leading crisis management at United Airlines on 9/11. Now, Ed Soliday is serving us at the Indiana State House, where he puts people ahead of partisanship. Representative Ed Soliday is a respected voice working to protect taxpayers, secure our energy grid, and attract better-paying jobs to the region. Ed is endorsed by the Indiana Fraternal Order of Police, the Indiana State Police Alliance, and the Indiana Professional Firefighters PAC. Representative Ed Soliday. Common sense leadership for Northwest Indiana. Vote Ed Soliday for state representative on or before Tuesday, November 5th.
Paid for by friends of Ed Soliday Committee.
AM 560, The Answer.
If it wasn't Biden, who do you think it was?
Maybe
who do you think
Nancy
it was that soiled
Pelosi?
himself? That's where I was going to go, actually.
I don't know. Who else? Maybe, Dianne Feinstein before she left this planet?
Could be.
I think
a good
that's
guess,
a good
too.
possibility because it didn't happen recently. So, but it
Yeah,
happened.
I like that you're thinking that it's a female politician.
Well, yeah, things shift around after you have babies. Just ask Kamala.
Okay.
'Cause she's a mother now.
Oh, God.
All right. Well, it's such a
gross,
painful statement she made over and over again yesterday. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
How the Democrats have been warring against honest voting for 3 decades. We'll discuss that with Jim Bovard at 8:38.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
It's 8:33, and we have 42 degrees. Time running out for candidates to make a case. And that to voters ahead of the November 5 election. Vice President Harris will make her final pitch, apparently, with a speech on the national mole next week. South Carolina Republican Senator Tim Scott explains how former President Trump is making record gains with African American men, especially in the South.
He has a record of success. Perhaps one of the greatest presidents in my lifetime for African American issues, from college funding to low unemployment, high enthusiasm, wages growing faster at the bottom than the top. But he also focused on things like crime and sickle cell anemia.
Recent polling shows among black voters shows Vice President Harris does maintain a majority of their support, but it's far lower than other past Democrat presidential nominees. Former President Trump gearing up for a pair of campaign events out west. He'll rally in the battleground state of Arizona before heading to Nevada. McDonald's believes slivered onions may be the cause of an E. coli outbreak that killed one man and sickened 50 others. The Boeing Machinists Union is rejecting a new labor deal. The news comes after a 64% vote against the deal that included a 35% wage increase. Authorities revealing a major breakthrough in a 45-year-old cold case in Kane County. DNA testing shows, according to police, 19-year-old Kathy Halley of North Aurora was murdered by serial killer Bruce Lindahl, who himself died in 1981. DNA also linked Lindahl to the murder of Pamela Maurer of Woodridge in 1976. By the way, Lindahl may also be responsible for a number of murders and rapes in the western suburbs through the late 70s and early 1980s. Mayor Johnson's communications director is stepping down. Ronnie Reese's exit follows a rocky year and a half of strategy by the mayor's administration and continues a string of critical exits from the mayor's team. Bulls lost in New Orleans to open the NBA regular season, 123-111 last night. The news, a service of Valdecast Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high quality and professional level window replacement service. Contact Valdecast Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Visit Valdecast.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
The weather is starting to turn to fall, and before you know it, the snow will be flying. Are your tires prepared for the rain and snow? Remke's Garage sells the most popular tire for this Chicago weather, the Toyo Celsius. Why Toyo, you ask? The Toyo Celsius tire has been uniquely engineered to help you specifically navigate Chicago's extreme weather and road conditions. Not only is the tire the most round, minimizing irregular wear, the asymmetric tread design is able to handle the crazy Chicago weather when it starts raining one minute, icy the next, and snowing within a few more minutes. Have peace of mind when going down the road that your tires are prepared for the conditions. So, why wait? Stop by Remke's Garage today and let their team inspect your tires and get you on the road with confidence. Visit us at remkesgarage.com. That's remkesgarage.com. REMKES, remkesgarage.com. Remke's Garage, repairing America. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Keene Jr. of the Mail House, Inc., a family-owned and operated digital print mail house with a specialty in political advertising and a customer of Signature Bank. We knew that getting a loan to buy our business wouldn't be easy, so we turned to one of our trusted friends for a referral. She told us about the outstanding level of customer service her business received at Signature Bank since becoming one of their first customers in 2006. Today, we couldn't be happier. Not only did Signature help us finance the purchase of the mail house, but they supported our growth as we modernized our operations in mailing as well as from traditional to digital printing. If you're looking for a great bank to grow your business, take a look at Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Everything about your product is 100%. I look forward to it. I'll put it that way. I'm 71 years old. Balance of Nature is the absolute best product. I love your product. And you guys, when I call you on the phone, you're the best. So I'm very grateful.
My husband's a retired cop, and I worked in a hospital for years.
I'm going out right now because I'm getting ready to paint my fence. It's just literally amazing. And, you watch the TV articles and you go, yeah. Well, at least it's 100% returnable if it doesn't work. I'm not kidding you. It is the most amazing product I've ever taken.
Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
8:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Audible. Why not escape the traffic with Audible? Immerse yourself in new world stories, ideas, an incredible selection of audiobooks, podcasts, and originals. There is more to imagine when you listen. Sign up for a free trial, audible.com. Inbound Kennedy at an hour 20, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stop and go on the inbound Ike between York Road and the Tri-State. It's an hour 10 from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson outbound, slow ramp to the inbound Dan Ryan, causing delays. DuSable Lakeshore Drive southbound, here's your jammed up Wilson to North Avenue, and the Tri-State jams northbound 75th up to Ogden. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Partly sunny and pleasant today, high 67. Get ready for rain overnight, especially after midnight, and maybe a thunderstorm, low 51. Shower in the area tomorrow morning, otherwise clouds will break for a high of 66. Partly cloudy and 42. Next, news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. This is, it's not remarkable. It can't be surprised, but it really is just a head scratcher. Maricopa County, Arizona, is saying it needs up to 2 weeks after the election to tabulate the results, and so be patient. This is a local affiliate providing the context.
Tight races, high interest in the election, and a 2-page ballot are leaving Maricopa County officials warning of lines on Election Day, and also warning it's going to take them 10 to 13 days to tabulate results. 2 pages and an average of 79 contests per ballot.
We are expecting heavy turnout this year, and so that's why we're really encouraging people to vote early.
2 weeks out from Election Day, and some votes are in.
More than 400,000 people have cast their ballot in Maricopa County.
That's out of an anticipated 2.1 million voter turnout this year.
We are seeing a little bit of a lag of where we were in 2020, but the last few days we've actually seen an uptick in turnout, so I am expecting that we will start approaching very close to those 2020 numbers.
What can impact the amount of results released and when? Early ballots dropped off on Election Day.
Our races will be close.
And on Election Day, lines are expected, even with an increase in vote centers and voting booths at those vote centers.
If you're going to vote on Election Day, vote in person and use that on-site tabulator so that those votes will be tabulated on that evening, as opposed to dropping off your early ballot on Election Day.
So he's projecting, or Maricopa County officials that you heard from are projecting that approximately 40% of the total vote will early vote. And yet, despite that, they're still not going to be able to tabulate the results within under 10 to 13 days from the election.
I know. And the Arizona GOP chairperson, Gina Swoboda, and I'll retweet this out, she explained in detail how this happened. She's like, well, just imagine if 400,000 of you drop off your mail-in ballots on Election Day. We don't, that they can't count it. She's like, because some will be damaged and we have to double-check signatures. So they can't get it together. Florida can get it together. Other bigger states can get it together, but
and countries can't. And countries. Argentina had their election results countrywide. the night of when Milei won. I mean, that's inexcusable. And why is she making excuses? That's a GOP official making excuses for Maricopa County's election authorities.
Explaining it. I'll tweet it out.
That's not explaining. That's not an explanation. That's bull jive. That's propagandizing. However it happens. First of all, you set up the regime. You and the state government there. You set up the protocols. And now you're saying, well, we can't abide the protocols that we set up such that we turn around the election results in a reasonable period of time, knowing what we already know about Arizona being a battleground state, knowing what they know about Arizona being a battleground state. That's nonsense. It's totally unacceptable. And there's no legitimate defense to it.
Michigan's doing the same thing. I don't know if you want to hear a little bit from Ms. Benson, the Secretary of State there. Not going to have election results on Tuesday.
Well, in 2020, we had the results of our highest turnout election in Michigan history within 24 hours of the polls closing. The unofficial results were completed by 8 p.m. on Wednesday. So we're tracking that again this year. We do have more options to process ballots sooner than Election Day, which is where we were restricted in 2020. So I'm optimistic we could see results even sooner, but I would estimate end of the day on Wednesday as the best guess on how we'll perform. But that said, we will always prioritize accuracy and
that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. What are you talking about? End of business on Wednesday? It should be Tuesday night, Wednesday morning at the latest, but end of business is tolerable because, first of all, depending on the spread, you're able to project a winner as long as you have the vote count substantially done by the end of business on, being the end of the night on Tuesday. So that's not Maricopa County. And frankly, the fact that Michigan can do that would necessarily include Detroit, and Maricopa County can't. Maricopa County is just a rank embarrassment. I don't know. I don't know how the Republican Party allows that to go on in Maricopa County. That is absurd, the argument they're making. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by James Bovard, contributing editor for the American Conservative and author of, most recently, Last Rites, The Death of American Liberty. That's optimistic. James, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's always good to put some positive thinking here, spin.
Yes, the death of American liberty. That's certainly something to get excited about. Well, you wrote a piece about this war the Democrats have been waging on honest voting for a few generations now. That's just perhaps come into focus in the last couple of cycles. So distill that for us, and please feel free to comment on Maricopa County if you want.
Yeah, that's a good point you made on Maricopa. It's appalling that they would claim that they're going to need practically to the New Year's Day to tell us how many people voted which way. Maricopa has a long history of brazen fraud. They're very squirrely about what they've done with the mail-in ballots. They just say, yeah, well, it looks like a signature. It's close enough for government work, which is the same standard that they used in Detroit in 2020. That was part of why Biden carried that state. And similar BS in Wisconsin. You had the Wisconsin Supreme Court that said the 500 unmanned ballot boxes, drop-off boxes in big cities in Wisconsin were illegal. Didn't matter. Those votes still counted. You had the Wisconsin government officials, even the election commission, were telling people to falsely claim that they could not leave their homes to vote by mail, which, of course, opened the door to all kinds of fraud because there was no way to check IDs on that. But it's just bizarre how in the last 10 years it's become a human rights violation to ask for identification at voting places. So.
Speaking of Wisconsin, this is another story too. I mean, these attorneys general, these secretaries of state in some of these blue states are really something. The attorney general in the state of Wisconsin had the home of Wausau Mayor Doug Dinney raided because he's the mayor of the town of Wausau. He publicly, and there's pictures of it, picked up a unsecured absentee ballot drop box to move it to a place where it would be secured. He noticed the city clerk had set up a drop box for election ballots outside City Hall. The drop box wasn't bolted to the ground or well lit, as the best practice guidelines from the Wisconsin Election Commission specify. So he grabbed a hand trolley, put on a hard hat, wheeled it back to the building. He then emailed the facilities manager to let him know he had brought the box inside so the lack of security could be resolved. The ballot box was still equipped with a lock plate, so no ballots had been deposited. And State Attorney General Josh Kaul, a Democrat, had his home raided over this as some sort of possible election interference.
Well, it's amazing to see how the Democrats are turning America into a drop box democracy, in which you've got no verification, you have all this paid ballot harvesting, you have almost zero checks to see whether a ballot is actually from the person whose name is on it, and you've also got a big blocking of people to check whether people are American citizens when they vote. So there are just so many different ways, and part of what's amusing here is the boundless piety of people who are destroying the checks and balances that American elections have had for hundreds of years. They act like they're doing God's work, and like we're supposed to presume that every piece of paper with a mark came straight from Mount Sinai.
I know you're a libertarian kind of guy, and so...
kind of guy. Okay, well...
Yeah. So,
I have my vices, but go ahead.
But I'm just saying, so certainly opposed to centralized power, generally speaking. But what do you think? What do you think about if Trump and Republicans did take back both the executive and legislative branches, pushing for a national election day and reining in effectively all of these weeks and weeks on end of early voting and so forth. National voting day, national election, an election day nationally. Here's the protocol, and the states can fill in the blanks underneath. Some of them, but other prescriptions, ID, and you have to have an excuse in order to vote absentee.
Yeah, I mean, I think that'd be a good idea. I think that Congress could set the standards for federal elections for the Congress and their president.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, if states and localities want to do it differently, that's fine. But some kind of standard, and this whole nonsense of voting season, it just opens up the door to so many types of frauds, and it's frustrating to me. I mean, I've had doubts about how politicians interpret election results for a long time. But in the last 6-7 years, especially with 2020, the floodgates were opened. There was far more fraud, and yet we're supposed to act like there was no fraud, or else you're a Hitler supporter or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's just so much bad faith on this entire issue.
Well, do you feel we'll have a safe and secure election in 12 days from now?
Safe and secure by what standard? I mean, if you've got ballot harvesting, you've got BS. And there are a lot of places. I mean, you see what happened 4 years ago with Mark Zuckerberg. You had $400 million coming from a private entity to these coffers of some of these election offices in big cities. And it's just sad. There was the story I did for American Conservative on Sunday talked about an Inspector General report on Afghanistan. And Afghanistan had all these presidential elections funded by U.S. taxpayers, and they were utterly fraudulent. And the U.S. government knew it, but they still acted like they were bona fide. There were so many different ways that the cheating went on, including by computerized voting. And there were some great warnings from the Inspector General for Afghanistan, the U.S. official, saying, look, I mean, it doesn't, simply because there's electronic voting doesn't mean it's honest. It makes it easier to steal votes that way.
That'd be a good slogan for the Kamala Walz ticket, Make America Afghanistan. James?
Well, yes, thank you. That's a good idea.
James Bovard, contributing editor for the American Conservative and author most recently of Last Rites, The Death of American Liberty. James, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
The big wireless companies want you to overpay for data that you don't need, but you don't have to settle for that with Pure Talk Well, you get to choose how much data that you actually want. And for $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, unlimited text. You're going to get mobile hotspot, 5 gigs of data. Go with Pure Talk, and you get to choose how much data you actually want. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and if you do it now, you'll save an additional 50% off your first month from Pure Talk.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
If your approach to everyday aches and pains is to mask them, feel better for a few hours only to have the pain return and then repeat the cycle all over again, it's time to try Relief Factor. And the good news is, Relief Factor makes that easy. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. Instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it. How? Well, its unique formula of ingredients helps support your body's response to inflammation. Relief Factor was developed by doctors. It's 100% drug-free, and for so many people, the results are game-changing, even life-changing. So give it a try. Right now, their 3-week quick start is just $19.95. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. See how in a few weeks or even days, Relief Factor can reduce your pain. When you feel better, life is just better. So don't mask pain. Fight it naturally with Relief Factor.
From Blue Fox Entertainment and producer Sylvester Stallone, the family adventure film of the year, Lost on a Mountain in Maine.
Mount Katahdin, treacherous terrain, takes a whole day.
We're gonna hike that?
We need to stick together! Where's Dawn?
Where's your brother?
The true story of a 12-year-old boy lost in the wilderness for 9 days, Lost on a Mountain in Maine, in theaters November 1st. Lost on a Mountain in Maine. Tickets at lostOnaMountainInMaineMovie.com.
Mount Katahdin, 100,000 acres of wilderness.
We're gonna hike that?
You're almost men now.
From Sylvester Stallone and Blue Fox Entertainment comes the film Lost on a Mountain in Maine.
Don, slow down.
You want us to be men? We're going to the top.
Where's Dawn?
Where's your brother?
A family searches for their son lost in the wilderness.
I always told him, when things get tough, press on.
The true inspirational story, Lost on a Mountain in Maine, in theaters November 1st. Tickets at LostOnaMountainInMaineMovie.com.
Have you heard about this guy, Donald Rainwater?
I sure have. Guy was a deadbeat dad. Total loser. Not only did Rainwater repeatedly fail to pay his child support, he filed for bankruptcy and had his car repossessed. But what did a court find he spent the money on? Cigarettes.
Hasn't he run for office twice before and lost each time?
Sure has. Maybe that's why he wants the job, so taxpayers pay off all his debts.
But there's someone even worse than Rainwater. This Jennifer McCormick character is a really out there liberal.
Yeah, she's a pro-Biden and pro-Kamala liberal. She opposed school choice, she supports boys in the girls' locker room, and did you hear what she said about Hillary Clinton?
Did you vote for Hillary Clinton?
She had some great, world foreign experience. So I did vote for Hillary Clinton.
Jennifer McCormick, she's hopelessly liberal.
I'm not voting for Rainwater or McCormick. They're both losers in my book.
Paid for by Indiana Republican State Committee, Inc.
Jordan B. Peterson, We Who Wrestle with God Tour.
If you say the truth and nothing else, you'll have an immense adventure as a consequence. You won't know what's going to happen to you, but the truth will reveal the world the way it's intended to be revealed. And the consequence for you will be that you'll have the adventure of your life.
Live at Rosemont Theater, January 15th. Get tickets this Friday at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call now at 800-533-6605 for a free consultation. For 17 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and a Christian-owned company. Don't get stuck in the endless cycle of payments. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Christian-owned Total Financial Freedom now at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
AM 560, The Answer.
Why don't you tell your mom to go down to Maricopa County election headquarters or the election office and start cracking some heads?
Honey, we're in Pima County, outside of Tucson near Marana. But
I got
to tell you,
enough.
Her election ballot, again, 2 pages of amendments. So it was a long slog, but we went through it, and I think we're going to come up with a winner chicken dinner. In Utah, by the way, on the ballot there's a guy named Lucifer Just in Case Everyjoy.
Yeah,
in Utah, you need $500 and 1,000 signatures to get on the ballot.
And you can call him Lucy.
Exactly. All right, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. Have a wonderful day. Plenty of sunshine, high in the upper 60s. It's 9 a.m.